Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Ragucci, and here with a few friends from the Delaware County area and the surrounding areas. We get in a basement and we talk about a certain topic. Today's topic is going to be, is Disney ruining Star Wars? As always, my co-host, Chris Trio.
What's going on, guys?
And we got some guests here from New Jersey. Evan Moore.
How's it going, guys? Happy to be here.
welcome.
This is a fun little premiere for me.
Yeah,
like it.
no, I could not. Again, Star Wars fans only on Star Wars podcast.
That's all we do.
And returning from his Rise of Skywalker debut, Mike Mandell. He's back.
Glad to be back. Hey, thanks, guys.
Of course,
Yeah.
man. I'm glad everyone's here. We're here. Gooch has been trying to sit me down to do this for about a year, and I'm just I was so
Since Last Jedi.
literally, and I was
Yeah.
like, I am just so Star Wars'd out about talking about it, and I have my opinions. Everyone has their opinions, but we're here. We're gonna do it.
So,
Gooch.
I was gonna say, you know, we're already talking about it, so let's get into it. Let's not do our regular rigmarole.
I agree. Yeah. We'll just jump right
fucking
in
go right past
because
that.
I have knives, and I'm ready to go back. Fast enough.
It's not
I have
out.
a
He's like
sword,
real Ryan
alright?
Johnson over here.
So I'm gonna start by saying when I first originally came up with this podcast topic, I was in a much different place as a Star Wars fan.
Did The Force Awakens just come out? You're like, let's talk about how great Disney is.
The Last Jedi just came out, and I was mad. Okay. And I was not happy with that movie. But I think with Rise of Skywalker, and I guess with Mandalorian coming out, we can not talk about Solo. Those
What
two.
movie are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Those two things have kind of like revitalized my. Okay, Star Wars isn't as bad as maybe I originally made it out to seem, but it certainly had been in those bad places.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been over this with you guys, not with you as much. I thoroughly enjoyed The Last Jedi. That was one of my setups of like.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
I'm one of those guys. So it's gonna get. It's gonna. I think there are some very real and very objectively true gripes with that movie, and that's that. I haven't been in that place of like, man, this is going down the shitter for me. I've been hating everything they've been coming out with. For the most part, I've been enjoying the stuff we've gotten. Would I like to see a little bit more of a change up to the formula we're getting? Sure. But I guess I'm a little bit more high probably than you guys on it. But I guess that's where I'm at right now.
And like you can see in the Rise of Skywalker review, I didn't hate Rise of Skywalker. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, and I was I was almost indifferent, especially after seeing it a second time. But yeah, that's where.
Yeah.
That's where I'm
I
at
agree
the
with what
moment.
you said, Gooch, about how, you know, with The Mandalorian coming out as well as The Rise of Skywalker, my opinion has definitely gone up. But Force Awakens, I did not really like at first. Now, you know, I look back on it, it was a good setup. But when I left that movie theater, I was not satisfied. I was just like, what did I just watch? Like, I feel like they wasted so much potential. Last Jedi, almost left. When he threw that lightsaber behind his head, I almost got up and was just like, I am going to hate every single thing about this movie. And I couldn't believe it. Like, how much I didn't like it. And even after second watch, like, I get and I respect the, you know, going for changing things, being big with like surprises and all those things. But I think that he went about it the wrong way. And because of that, especially after The Rise of Skywalker came out, it looks like Disney just doesn't know what they're doing. They just have...
Well, they tried to give it to
Yes.
It's funny because they tried to give it to someone and let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And that thing I can kind of respect.
Sure,
That's why I
sure.
respect Ryan Johnson. He went and tried to do his own stuff. He seems like he's a very passionate guy about Star Wars, at least from his
yeah.
interviews that I get.
Oh, yeah.
But they got a split decision. And Disney was like, whoa. Rein this back in. Let us... Bring Emperor back. Let's slide this stuff in. Come on.
That's
And
the problem here, though.
Yeah.
Like, half the Star Wars fans love Last Jedi, right?
Yeah.
And half the Star Wars fans hate Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So what do? You're J.J. Abrams.
You're stuck in the middle.
You're
You
like,
can't.
I can't please everybody.
And you're never going to.
So let me just do everything at once, as loud, as fast as possible. For
Let me
3
throw
whole
3
hours.
movies into one.
Yes.
Or 2.
It's the third movie in the trilogy and the second movie in the trilogy. It almost like ignores Last Jedi.
There are big. I think there's one plot element that I find that they do successfully
What,
implement.
friend zoning Rose?
Yeah.
Buddy. All right, see you later.
It's more the Luke stuff and his kind of growth within the Last
I can
Jedi,
see
which
that.
I think is
I
more.
see.
Because by the end
don't
of
agree
Last
with
Jedi,
that.
he has faith back in the Jedi. He has
Right, but
had
like-
that growing sensation of it makes sense for him to catch that lightsaber.
But I
for
guess
me.
let me, not that I don't agree with what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I would say that like his faith in the Jedi is not. I don't think that's the way he should have gone.
But
He's
that's
never
all.
really been in the Jedi. Like let's.
Yes, he
Well,
started
no,
it
yeah.
himself.
Well,
he tried to start his
essentially
own-
after the fact
Right.
of Yoda dying.
When
he was
Yoda
supposed
is like,
to
yo,
be
he's
new.
too
yeah.
old to begin the training, and then you flash back to when like episode 2 and they're all like little kids with like little kids. Like, so, like wow,
just
Luke is way too old.
But like,
Yeah.
that shows you like. But like, if it was somebody like Obi-Wan saying we don't need the Jedi Order, that's different because he was in
Yeah.
the actual
Yes.
Jedi Order. So I guess like I look at Luke and I was like, you really weren't a Jedi in the sense of like
he was
you
a
weren't
New
in-
Hope.
Yeah, well,
we go.
I like
And
your
the
point on
podcast
this. No, I do. Yeah, because he wasn't in the prequel Jedi that we saw that were
Right.
like political
And that is
they
the
were
Jedi Order
So
to
Luke,
me.
to me, especially reading a lot of EU stuff, like when he's done with Episode 6, he goes on,
Starts his own academy.
starts his own,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
it's not as strict. Like a lot of people don't like Luke and what he has to do, but everyone respects him. He's the master. There's a lot of Jedi. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. A lot of the gray Jedi thing comes out more, I think, and it's just more established. This one, it really don't, and they don't really give you that much. Like, in The Last Jedi, it shows Kylo and him getting that fight and it gets destroyed, but they never showed.
And even they've retconned
Jedi.
that. They actually
Yeah.
came out with this new Kylo Ren series. It's a
Of course,
comic.
they retconned it.
Oh,
It's not.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
actually
oh my
not even a
God.
rec. It shows you more and tells you something. You're like, oh, so like Kylo didn't really burn down the temple. It was Snoke.
So
Oh,
here's,
you know, I
well,
think I
which
did
is not
hear
really
about this.
Snoke. That's the Emperor.
Exactly.
Yes.
So-
Right.
sorry, Snow
my,
Emperor.
This is my problem more than anything else.
Yeah.
Personally, so my perspective on it is I actually really enjoyed Force Awakens. I'm one of those losers who was like, wow, this is cool.
That's
It
not,
set up a
I
lot,
did
like-
too. No, yeah.
Then halfway through Last Jedi, I was like, oh shit. Uh-oh. Like something
No,
is
what are you
so
doing? Yeah.
horrendously wrong here. But my opinion is like, listen, if you're gonna go down that route, right? Ryan Johnson did his thing. He did what he was gonna do. You can't then say J.J. Abrams
Pivot.
Go back.
shift it the other
Yeah,
way.
go
Like,
back.
You
Yeah,
have
no.
to
You're walking left
continue.
and you want him to pivot right.
And
Yes.
that's where I think, going back to like the corporation side of this, they need a Feige. And I'm not
Yes,
saying
they do.
And I'm not saying Kevin Feige does his job all that well. Doctor
Does it
Strange too.
decently.
He just canned Scott.
Scott Derrickson.
Just
well,
got-
he didn't can.
No, he didn't can him.
Scott Derrickson left
Yeah.
for what's
We
called
want to
reasons.
make Doctor Strange 2 a horror movie. We don't want to make Doctor Strange 2 a horror
There's
movie.
all these
like what? Like what do you what?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like, come on.
Yeah, literally, Scott Derrickson comes out one week. He's like, "Yeah, we're really gonna try and dig deep into these horror roots and make it scarier than your normal MCU movie."
Oh,
and then the
never
next
mind.
week,
Oh, cool.
Feige's like, "I don't know if I necessarily would call this a horror movie." It's like, and I literally saw it that week. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh well." Derrickson's
Then your
still
eyeballs
gone.
go in the back of your head. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, and
it's
then this
ruined.
is that is my gripe with Marvel, and we're kind of that's sort of off topic, but like they're very relevant because Disney owns 2 huge
Franchises.
IPs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Star Wars, Marvel, I think is having the issue where they need to stop playing it safe. They have the money, they've made the capital, they proved that what they're doing works. So let's do something different in the sense of style of movies. Like these
Let's
movies
get more
are
of a
not,
genre change.
Are not just comic book movies, and you could kind of say maybe the same thing about Star Wars. Not too much because there's not that many Star Wars movies.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
that they should have started like the Marvel and played it safe for a little bit first. I think
Well,
they would
yeah, I
benefit
think they
from
try.
that.
See,
They
I
think
think the
Force
thing is they
Awakens was
tried
playing
to.
safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even like Solo is very
But
safe.
Last
Like,
full disclosure, I didn't
Last
see
Jedi.
if you know all the stuff they say in each movie
Yeah,
about what he does, then that's
That-
I've
usually
seen
Literally-
everything but Solo. Solo came out, I was
is
like, nah.
5 quotes from A New Hope in a movie.
and apparently, what's his the not the Russo brothers? Who are the guys who did like the Spider-Man the animated movie and like 21
Tim,
Jump Street and all
Miller,
that?
Tim,
What are the
Tim
names?
Miller and Phil Lord.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they were on
Lord and Miller. That's
Lord
what
and Miller,
They go,
that's
that's
it,
what
yeah,
they
yeah.
go by.
Yeah.
That's
Miller.
their stage name.
they were apparently going a much more comedic route and.
Yeah.
And it does seem like they just like the guys up there didn't know what they wanted to do, and they're like,
can you fucking believe that movie lost director and it still turned out?
"Well, Ron, I mean, I
Yeah,
think that
I did.
movie
Can you
is
I
believe
give
that?
Ron Howard credit for
that
that.
movie is perfectly serviceable. It's not the greatest movie ever. I still think it's a fun movie. I actually for what
What are we
Solo.
talking about?
Solo.
we're talking about Solo.
This is all relevant. It all ties in. Disney
I think
owns it all.
Solo, and I got to give credit to Alden Ehrenreich. I think he does a pretty good Han Solo for what it's worth.
Sure.
I think for what he's got.
No, and
You
exactly.
can't
that's like-
compare it
the
to
script
Harrison
is-
Ford though. So how do you go up
Why
to that?
would you
can't-
take a role
cannot.
that's so iconic? So this kind of plays into
Yes.
like, is Disney ruining Star Wars? Like, all right, first thing, Force Awakens, safe, marketable, makes a lot of money,
Yeah.
right?
Brings
Second
in new
thing,
people while
second
taking
thing,
the old.
Rogue One, it was like
Not playing it safe. I'll give him
It was
credit.
like,
It's
okay,
not playing it
interesting.
safe.
I think we can all agree. I don't know how your opinions on this. Rogue One's okay.
I agree.
I
It's
like Rogue
cool.
One.
I
Rogue
think
One
it's
is
cool.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was
Awesome.
great.
Absolutely
Just to see
fantastic.
what Darth
Yeah.
Vader was enough for me to be like,
Exactly.
holy
Dude,
shit,
yeah,
I
yeah,
love
I was
this.
sitting there like he's doing
I
it.
was
He's
like-
about to cut down all these
about to
fuckers.
scream in
so
the
it's
theater.
like right off the bat, you got like something safe, something different and interesting, and then all of a sudden it hits you Last Jedi and then Solo. And it was like,
Two of the
Yeah.
worst.
Whoa!
Solo is one of the worst movies I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
why the fuck?
Like,
did
I'm
they
sorry.
do
It was just
I have to
unnecessary
say,
in
I
every
don't think
way.
I've seen a movie where I was that bored sitting in
Whose
that theater.
idea was okay? So Last Jedi, we all agree, weird, but some people love it.
No, yeah.
some people hate it. It is.
It's a
what
very
it is.
divisive. It's
polarizing.
It's very,
Yeah.
it's very divisive. But why would you go from doing something like that
Yes.
to young Han Solo movie?
And apparently there was a
who
Boba Fett.
thought that was a
See,
good
I don't
idea?
even think it's necessarily like, and apparently that one was supposed to be much different. I don't even think it's necessarily the order in which these are coming out. Like, it's just we need, like you said, a mastermind. You need someone with
someone
that.
with it to have
Yeah.
the
Not
glue
a
to tie the
group.
whole
And
thing
clearly
together.
Kathleen
They need a
Kennedy is
plan.
not it.
No,
But
Kathleen
she's not
Kennedy
even-
should be fired.
She needs to be gone. Yes.
Again, like I think she's doing the best she can while dealing with literally a group of 100 writers being like, "No, we got to do this. Wait, we can't fuck this up."
But that's
And
why
I mean,
you
it's
need
what
her to say, "Hey, listen, I'm in charge
Yeah.
here, right?
This is what we're doing."
Where we're
Yes.
going."
And
And
they're-
she hasn't done that.
and
And
they're
Rise of
not.
Skywalker
or
is
at least
very
commit
clear
to
on
something,
that.
because
Yeah.
that's what annoys me about Rise of Skywalker
Yes.
is they let Ryan Johnson do his thing, like you said,
Yeah.
And then they brought
just stepped on
JJ.
it.
They brought
Yeah.
And I'm
JJ in
like-
to clean it
and
the
it-
fuck up.
That shows
Not
that
even
they're
clean.
scared.
No, but like
think
to
he
do.
cleaned
You
it
don't
up.
think he
I
cleaned it
don't
up?
think
No,
No, they couldn't. That's what I'm saying. But like they were like, all right, JJ, come do your
I think
magic.
there was a
And it's
way
like,
to do
oh,
a
geez.
continuation of the Last Jedi
Yeah.
that brought in
Yes.
people, but brought people back while still getting the things that people liked from the Last Jedi. Like one of the things that I truly loved in the Last Jedi was that Rey was a nobody, and the reason I love that so much is because that was one of the most crushing things you could have told her in that
Yeah.
moment. It
Yeah.
really does. It gets.
Your
she's
nobody,
like,
your parents were
you're
junk dealers.
Doesn't
and
you
abandoned
don't
you.
matter.
Yeah.
You don't matter. But hey, you matter to me. It's the ultimate neg. Like
I
it's
agree.
like
I agree. I
I
like
thought
that.
that was one of my favorite aspects, and then they're like, "No, she's Palpatine." I'm like,
Palpatine's granddaughter has to be the laziest shit I've ever heard.
That's
of.
what
Ever
I,
in
I
your
was
life.
just like,
And it's funny, the reason they try to justify it so hard, saying that, oh, we wanted all the films to connect in a way, and Palpatine's the main bad guy behind all of it. No,
Again,
no,
about-
no.
Darth Vader threw Emperor Palpatine
Yes.
down at a shaft and he exploded. The end. That character is dead in my head.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
it makes, and I don't think him coming back. I don't think is the unprecedented thing because he's
The
done
dead
that like
speaks.
right off that movie.
That line is it's hilarious.
I turn to my friend and go, "Uh-oh," and then like they do the whole Palpatine thing in that movie, and then all of a sudden they're on the Millennium Falcon. There's a giant slug monster, and me and my buddy look at each other and go, "What the fuck is going on?" We're like, what's happening?
Sorry, I interrupted with that one.
no. What was I saying?
That opening was like, "Oh no!"
But again, I think you could have kept the things that worked. Obviously, people didn't love the Rose stuff. They didn't like the Canto
Nah,
Bite
that-
stuff.
I see- The Rose stuff. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
You know I love interrupting. The only thing to say about the Rose thing, that's just bad writing. That has nothing to do with.
Oh, that was
anything
terrible.
other
She's a
than
fine
the
actress.
cat.
I want to say, I hate to say
No.
this, but they're trying way too hard for inclusion as well as
Yeah, I would
being
agree.
social justice warriors in Star Wars. And like, I want to see it. I want to see more of other races in it. I want to
look at
see
The
more
Witcher.
female
Look how many
leads.
people of
However,
race are in that
when you force
show.
it doesn't always good. Like Padme, I think she did a great job. Leia, another female lead,
that's
that
the
was a
thing,
great
like,
job.
Star Wars has had badass female
Yeah,
characters.
Ray
and leads
is
from
just
day
like, okay,
one.
Ray's a girl. So to me, out of everything that happened in the movies, I feel like the only reason she's good at anything is because she's a girl. Like that's how they put it at you. As
See,
in, like,
I didn't. I don't know if
and
I took it that way
think,
necessarily.
I think of it like that a lot because of how stupid they make Poe in a way. Like I feel like he's also supposed to be just like.
I can go. On
I
for
think
hours,
in the
but-
Last Jedi, I
there's
do
a
think
lot of-
his treatment isn't good in the Last
Tell
Jedi.
Poe
I don't
the
think he's
plan.
stupid though in the Force Awakens.
No, in the Force
Yeah.
Awakens he was good, but then that goes back
Again,
to them
I see that
switching.
story group behind them in in that.
And to
Like,
what
of,
you were
like, yeah.
saying, as much as I hate The Last Jedi, I would have respected Disney more if I hated The Rise of Skywalker for the same reasons. Because
they committed.
Yeah, because they committed. They still went with that.
It's
I
almost
would've been
like
as a DC EU fan, I can agree with you there.
Like,
Yeah,
whereas,
yeah.
like just this is a different thing, but like with Justice League and Zack Snyder, they got that midway taken away from him, and it's just they tried to completely mold a different movie within that movie, and it just didn't feel like it's set at all in that realm. And God, Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, I fucking love his
Adam
characters.
Driver carries this sequel.
He's
trilogy.
so
very
good.
job.
He
And
is the pin that holds the whole thing together.
There-
He's consistent. His acting is phenomenal.
So good.
The character is great.
he even looks like Anakin. He looks like he would be his grandson.
If you took Anakin
Shit, I never
Skywalker-
thought about
Like,
it.
he
if you
does.
take Harrison Ford and Hayden Christensen and like
Mal-
merge their
Magic-
faces,
yeah, like, it's-
that's what that would
Like
look
the
like.
long
eye.
hair, and even like there was one scene in, I think we talked about this in the review. I was like, when Harrison Ford shows up to talk to him, I'm like, that should have been Anakin.
Yes, it
That
should
should have been.
Should have been Hayden
Should have been
Christensen.
like
Yes.
like
that was
it
the
really
first thing
should
I
have.
thought of when it happened.
Yeah,
But
he
even
said,
like-
he said they have Harrison Ford didn't shower, didn't cut his hair, didn't shave. He's like,
My
I'll
fa-
do your fucking movie.
Showed up for $1
But I'm
million.
here for 10 minutes. Go. Roll camera now. Don't put a force outline around me or anything.
There was one thing
Just
that
go.
like I think it was JJ when he was talking about calling me. He's like, "Hey, could you do a scene for the last for Rise of Skywalker?" He was like, "Sure."
Can you at least get a haircut? No.
That interview I showed you for The Force Awakens when he goes, what is it? What the fuck does he say? He's like,
Like, I did it for money.
he's who shot first, Honor Green?
I don't
He goes,
care.
This is so, yeah, it goes
care.
through all of them. It goes through like they're like, "Oh, Greedo or Han," and it goes to him. I don't care.
But that's why Force Awakens to me is so much fun because Harrison Ford. Like, there's two types of Harrison Fords. I'm bored, and I'm just gonna be bored.
Be in this movie?
Like, that's the voiceover for Blade Runner that he didn't want to do, where he's just like,
Use the
and then
I'm
as he
here.
died, I saw the tear run down his eye.
Am I done yet?
Yeah, but then there's also like, I don't care, but I'm gonna here to have fun, which is like, that's not how the Force works.
Yes. Yeah,
that was good.
Do they have a trash compactor? He looks right at the camera. You're like, God.
Yeah, like
this
you can
thing?
tell you're having fun because he's having
He's
fun.
having a good time. He doesn't
And
really
even-
care. He's just his hair's down.
I do
figuratively.
feel bad for the actors in the case of like they weren't given great direction of like where they want to go and what their characters' motivations were.
Especially Ray.
That's
Ray
that's why I
especially
don't
Ray.
blame Daisy Ridley
I
at
don't
all
blame
for like
him. First off,
none
I don't
of the
blame
actors.
any
That's
of
true.
the actors.
Not
No, that's
one.
true.
Not
Yeah,
one
not
of them.
one of them.
I mean, it's
Of
just you're
course.
given what you're given and you act it. And it does. I really feel like, and I mean, even this kind of stuff shines through in the older trilogies and stuff like that, where like we need this, figure out the story,
Yeah.
and then shoot the movies.
Yes.
Don't be like, all right, JJ, you set
yeah,
this
we
up.
know what we're doing. No,
And then
no.
no, but not even that they're saying they know it. They're just
I
like, yeah,
feel-
we're
I
just
feel
gonna
like they
go.
did.
We're just gonna go from the next one to the next one
Even
and
have
figure it
3
out.
points of where you want to start, where you want to be in the middle, and then how do you want it to end.
And that's
then
how
from
they do
there,
with
you can
Marvel.
do whatever you want.
Excuse me.
I
Oh,
mean,
sorry.
when they were talking about Force Awakens, I had the sense that they got this whole trilogy
no,
figured
they
out.
had no idea.
Well, not for seeing the movie, but just
yeah,
from
of course we
talking
didn't.
about it.
I know,
Yes.
but like J.J. Abrams set up these mystery boxes right?
Again.
like that were like. As fans, you're like, wow, they must have this whole crazy
Yeah.
thing planned out.
And then
I
Ryan
wonder how this
Johnson
is
was
gonna
like,
end.
"Get the fuck
He
out of
closed
here."
Yeah.
all of them and buried them, and it's like, well, okay. On one hand, I respect the subversion of expectations. I
Yes.
I think he
respect-
definitely could have done it better in some
And I
instances.
think he did too much with that, though.
Yeah,
but
but he did it. That's what I
Yes.
I can't stand about Rise of Skywalker. There's things in Rise of Skywalker I like, and there's a lot I really don't like. I think the movie's just kind of a general mess. But like, you can't just
ignore them.
disregard
Yes.
everything that
Everything.
Rise of
It's
Skywalker
and
did.
it's funny because even there's one part I noticed this on the second watch. They're like, "Why don't you pull a holdover maneuver?"
Oh, we can't do that.
That's a 1 in a million shot. It's like, no, it isn't. You can do that. Just deal with
Never
that now.
tell me the odds.
Like, just at that point, no, it exists. Don't do it again.
Yeah.
But don't say that you can't
And-
do it
yeah.
again because you can definitely do
You
it
can
again.
definitely do it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. And I'm just like, no, guys, just commit at this point. You're already fucking halfway in the
God,
pool.
I need another beer already.
I was like, he just crushed that can.
Oh, man.
He's having that.
Listen, if we're gonna start actually talking about Rise of Skywalker now that we've kind of got the preamble out of the
No,
way,
it's.
I need another one.
Oh man, and and there are just certain things like that we don't get, and I guess we didn't even get it in like the older stuff, like Rey's new lightsaber. We get that at the I saw this one meme and it was
Yeah,
pretty great.
unexplainable.
It's when
Wait,
you
what?
get him. It's when you get that weapon at the end of a game that's so OP, but you don't have anything to use it on anymore. And it's her just lighting.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's
like, wow,
seriously,
it's
though.
Oregon.
Seriously,
The
like
memes-
we
I
talk.
thought it was yellow.
Is it
Sorry,
yellow?
the
See,
memes.
I've seen
It's
this
yellow.
debate all
It's
over.
yellow. It's yellow.
Is it yellow?
Yeah, it's yellow.
fucking yellow.
But here's the thing. I don't care.
I can't get over some of these memes that are coming out of the Rise of Skywalker though, from the prequels of like Anakin laying on the floor on the lava yelling, and he's like,
It's okay.
why don't you force heal me? And he's like, no. And when his mom's dying in his hand, she's like, it's okay, you can just force heal me. They're all over the place with so
The
many
one thing I
scenes.
did take with the Force healing thing was that was lost to the Jedi, and that was in the old text that she found. That's what I
Okay.
read it as.
Yeah, okay.
But
They
even
gotta
that-
explain that.
Right.
Instead of
No,
like,
but again,
here's a
that's-
giant worm monster that
Yeah.
means nothing. Let me force heal it.
And they did need that more with the explaining, because otherwise a lot of this stuff just breaks lore. Every single thing that happens, I'm like, well, why didn't
And,
they do
and
that
if
here?
they had
Like,
a Feige,
Yeah.
even if George Lucas came in and be like, I'm going to be your lore master, like picture
I don't
Jesus
trust George
Christ, like,
anymore, though.
one hand on the
Like,
book.
I hate
don't-
sand.
they don't read
it's so
the-
coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere.
They don't read the lore.
Dude,
they can't,
reading
because that joke with the jetpacks, like
Yeah, I mean,
they
in
fought
Mandalorian.
jetpack troopers in the Rise of Skywalker. That was a funny joke.
Oh,
They
they
fly
fly
now.
now.
They
They
fly
fly
now.
now.
In
They fly
many of
It's like,
the
I'm like, yeah,
comics
what the
and
fuck are
many
you
of the
talking about?
books,
Yeah.
they go against the jetpack people a lot. So like,
Yeah, they all the time. But
It's
like,
just
I'm like
like-
jetpacks. Like, they,
Yeah.
So
Still,
again, that's
Clone
not
Troopers
even the
definitely
stuff
have
that
it.
I'm like. There's
no,
so
that
I get
was
what you're
fun. That was fun.
Yeah.
But like, it just they need to be more consistent with lore.
Right.
It's funny,
Something
like
as big
that
as
little
Star
thing.
Wars.
Like I'm not as big at like I don't give a fuck. Like I actually kind of chuckled, but yeah, I will say
yeah.
with like
have
the
you finished
Force
Mandalorian?
Stuff,
Yeah.
Oh, I finished Mandalorian in preparation for this.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Because-
real,
because-
real quick, I just want to make a point before we go into something else. You can tell Dave Filoni like is doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, one, the Darksaber. Two,
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
they're just
Oh my
I was-
God.
I
right?
out of my
I stood up and was like,
Yeah,
Darksaber,
I did the same thing.
Yeah, but like that's like one of those moments when you can tell who is doing the story because Dave Filoni did Clone Wars and Rebels. Like
Yes.
you can
Yeah.
tell
I think Filoni
that's where
could.
he's
He
pulling from.
is a mentee to
George-
George Lucas.
Yeah,
and
I think Dave. If we were to nominate somebody for that
Feige
role,
position,
it's
Yeah,
Dave
that's
Filoni.
Dave Filoni
Sure.
could do it.
Well, here's the okay. So coming into this conversation, when you originally asked me to do this, is Disney ruining Star Wars? After seeing Rise of Skywalker, I was going to sit here and drink like a whole 6-pack and be like, yes, absolutely.
Those
Disney is ruining-
fuckheads.
Like, there's no question about it. They had no plan. They hit everything. As soon as I finished Mandalorian, I said, oh
no, they
my
kinda do
God.
like it.
They,
Like, They
that-
just haven't had the right footing.
Yes,
Right.
Mandalorian was everything I wanted that sequel trilogy to be. Everything.
Yes, and it was.
I loved Mandalorian.
And they
was so
shove
good.
fan service down your throat in Mandalorian.
the
and it's
holiday,
still
the
good, like,
holiday special is referenced in the first.
Yeah,
10
it's
minutes
like,
of
I gotta
Mandalorian.
get back for Life Day, right?
And
It's
it's,
like,
yeah,
like-
it's the Life Day one, and then on top of that, he's got the rifle that Boba Fett had.
No
Yeah.
disintegrations.
So,
No,
the
yeah.
thing that
Oh
he
my
has
God.
So many
he
fucking
says high ground
disintegrations.
at one point.
the metal is called Vaskar
got the
metal,
high
right?
ground. Vaskar.
Bastard.
Yeah,
Bastard.
That the thing the metal is in is the ice cream machine from it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
the fact that they were able to reference the fucking Star Wars holiday
Yeah.
special and make it work in
And
this
be- yeah,
universe.
it's-
They've got battle droids in there. Like they didn't.
Oh my
Right.
God, that
One
was
thing I
amazing.
actually I can't stand about the sequels is listen, whatever your opinions are on the prequels, and I admit that's a
I
separate
know you're gonna say,
conversation.
Yeah,
go
what-
you
ahead.
can't just ignore them in the sequels
Yes.
entirely. The Mandalorian like beautifully weaved in technology and storylines from the
Yes,
prequels.
and-
but it doesn't even like you don't need to watch it.
No,
at all.
yeah,
and,
no.
but like it's
Yeah,
supplementary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you can't just outright ignore them the way the sequel trilogy did. The Mandalorian is like that's the Star Wars I wanted coming off of Force Awakens.
Sure.
And I feel like it's been tossed around between different writers and directors with these movies.
There's no consistency.
I love the Mandalorian.
I do too.
I
Yeah.
love
Every
it.
second
Front
of
to
that
back.
last episode was
Perfect.
Well, but it was just so great
heart-pounding.
because like
It
you're
was
sitting
just-
there. It's like these things you see Boba Fett in the theater, and
Yeah.
you're like, "What can he do with his fucking jetpack? What does
Yeah.
he? How does he use this?
slams into a
What do
barge and falls down the
you
subway.
hear that? Boba Fett's the biggest joke in the Star Wars
Ever.
movies.
Oh, by
but we'll
far.
get into that a different time.
He's a clone of Django. Like, oh my god!
But-
And they ruined him in the prequels too.
like you see all these things, and he's like, dude, he's using his flying birds. He's using his he gets his jetpack.
He loves
uses
that flamethrower.
flamethrower.
Oh my
He's like,
God.
all right, time to use it.
Time
And
to
I love the
burn.
way he just gets ragdolled. Like he's good, but he's
Yeah.
not perfect. Like when he fights the Mudhorn, like he
Yeah.
gets
Yeah.
the shit kicked out, and he's just like, ah, fuck, I'm dying. Like I'm
I
dead.
think it
Like
was
I'm just
Death
gonna hold.
Troopers 2 again. Like that when I
Yeah.
saw the
Yeah,
black
from
one of my
Black
favorite
Troopers,
designs.
Yes,
But
I was
like-
like, wow, like this is what they need.
The
Give us these things.
Mandalorian did everything perfectly by weaving in every different technology and element and story.
That just
point.
shows
It's
you
just-
they had the one mind behind it.
Yes,
It's so
give
Dave
this-
Filoni and
give it all
And
to
you,
Dave
and
Filoni.
you want to know why? Because it's not a movie.
Yes.
That's why somebody has
well,
it.
and you know
I'm
who
fine
you
with
know
The
who else
movie,
is
there's
really
too
great?
many cooks in the kitchen on
Yep.
the movies.
John Favreau has something about him where he can give the upper heads, I feel like, what they want while still making the show that he wants and the
Right.
story he
Yeah.
wants to create. And like,
How many
that shines through.
Iron Man movies? Just the 2, right?
The 2.
Yeah.
I think he directed the first one. I don't think he directed the second one. I think he's still in
No,
it, but
he was involved
He's in
in
it.
it.
He's
I mean,
an executive producer.
But he said, like, what Jon Favreau did more than anything else, in my opinion, with the MCU,
Yeah.
is he laid that groundwork.
tone.
And that's what I thought J.J. Abrams was doing with Force Awakens.
Sure.
It's like, I'm going to come in here, bloop, kind of just drop the tone, drop the
Drop
idea.
these certain little trails for
Where
you
the
to follow.
characters are.
And then
yeah.
here comes Ryan Johnson with a sledgehammer. Whap! Raise nobody.
You know,
whap!
and you-
Snoke is
what-
dead. It's
like-
well, what
Oh,
are we
you
doing
guessed
here?
that? Well, that's not
Like
happening.
there we
my
go.
one want from this trilogy, from the sequel trilogy, was Ahsoka. I wanted to see Ahsoka come out of nowhere because then it would have been like, holy shit, this Jedi who's been in this shit since like the beginning, who has like gone on her own way, has become a great Jedi, who has all this sort of like lore in her, but is a very good character, be introduced at the end, or like some sort of way that like her and Rey are like
My only gripe
together,
with that-
something like involving her and just showing like, yo, she was a Jedi and she left the Jedi for a reason, and like, and she became a neutral force user, and like all that
Well,
experience.
she goes back into the Jedi
right
at one point
right.
for a while.
but
Yeah.
like but she's out of it for a while.
No, yeah. The only thing with that is you'd have to catch up people so much.
I
that
know.
just no
But,
one
like,
would
I'm
e-
like, that
this
character-
tweet
Yeah,
like
But
you
at
walk
that
on.
point, when you're in Rise of Skywalker,
It
nothing
just
matters
doesn't
anyway.
matter.
Fuck it, throw
Yeah,
it
it's
in there.
like,
It's
like,
like,
drop it in.
what do I care?
No, it's true.
Like,
At
what-
that point, I agree.
What Ahsoka is, I sort of want it from Luke in a way.
Yeah, but even like
okay,
Ahsoka's
that's
like,
fair.
she's a good character, and I think.
And we're getting another season of the fucking
You know-
Clone
oh my
Wars.
God,
I know.
That's-
Like,
You know-
it's like, oh yeah, we canceled it. We got Rebels and fucked Rebels. We're going back to
Yeah.
Clone Wars.
I think Baby Yoda's going to Ahsoka. I think by the
think so?
end of season
Oh,
2,
really?
that's
Hot
where
take
he's
on
going to
Baby
drop
Yoda.
it.
I did not
Hot
think
take
about
on
that.
Baby
Because-
Yoda.
Oh my God, I love Baby Yoda.
The fact that Dave Filoni put in the Darksaber, you're like, okay, they're like,
get it.
they're not just
get it.
shoehorning Darth Maul at the end of
Oh,
Solo.
and
No,
also,
but that is so
they're really,
cool, though.
Who is
like,
who
playing
is the
with it.
That's true.
Mandalorian in the Clone Wars? The main one, played by Jon Favreau. His group,
Going in the the
Jango?
big guy, the
Death
heavy
Watch.
guy.
Death Watch.
Oh, yeah, Death
Death
Watch.
Watch
Death Watch.
are the
Yes.
Mandalorians
And
who rescued
yeah,
him.
They're
Yes,
the
yeah.
ones who had the Darksaber. So basically,
Yeah.
I'm guessing that our hero, what is it, Jin or
Jin-
whatever,
Jin Darin.
he is going to have claim to that Darksaber at some point.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
what I need from this show more than anything in the entire world
More
is
Breaking
for
Bad cameos.
I don't remember the actor's name, but Chubbs from Happy Gilmore needs to get his hand cut off. He needs to get his hand. He needs to get his hand cut off by the Darksaber. It has to happen.
Not Apollo
What is
Creed
his name?
from
Yeah, I know
Rocky.
that was pretty
not
good.
that,
That's
not
a
that
good one,
dude
too.
from it.
That's a
Don
good one,
Weathers.
too.
No, something Carl
Chubbs
Weathers.
are happy. Well, I use that as the
No, that is
as the reference because he's missing
It
his
made me
hand.
think for a sec. I was like, who is Chubbs in? Oh, fuck. It's
Of all
That
the
is
Woodwalkers.
Weathers.
He's missing his hand in that one. Well, that's
Okay,
the point.
yeah.
That's the whole point of the
It would be
show.
pretty great if a space alligator got it. I wouldn't
Yeah,
lie.
okay.
Yeah, that would
I
be
hit my head on that light twice. I have to
that's
move.
okay.
It's okay.
So-
It's okay. It's meant to do it.
But I think he's gonna have claim to that Darksaber eventually,
Yeah.
and that'll be really cool if our main character has a lightsaber
so,
essentially.
real quick, I need to throw out a hot take on Baby Yoda. I don't like how he's just a meme. I
agree with that.
I don't like how he's just a
I agree
meme
with
in outside
In
of the
our
show.
world.
He's a fucking meme.
he is literally a meme.
I
outside
don't
of the
like
show,
it.
Sure.
I don't like it. I think it like I'm like
But that's not the show's fault.
He is
Right, it's
he's
not.
set up so well though. For
Yeah,
this
I know.
next
I
season.
think he's
yeah.
This next season is set up for that race and
yeah.
like
and to be
learning
really
about
cool.
him. Oh my
I think
God.
that's just the zeitgeist's issue. Of like, I saw this one meme, and it was like, it was a Trojan horse meme, and it's like me holding the Trojan horse. It's Baby Yoda, and then inside it's like the entirety of the Star Wars trilogy, or something like that. And then the girlfriend is the one opening the gates. Like I think it is that something of like it just gets people in that maybe aren't
He's
aren't
so,
bad, yeah.
but they, oh my god, every scene he's in, I'm drooling because he's the cutest thing in the entire
Oh,
world.
yeah,
He,
yeah.
like,
do the magic
Scout
hand
Trooper
thing.
punched him in the face.
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, no!
I do love that they actually punched him because it just makes you go like, that guy better
Jason
fucking die.
Sudeikis punches
Was
him.
that
was-
Jason
Yeah,
Sudeikis?
Jason
Yes.
Sudeikis. and-
Jason
was-
Sudeikis punched Baby
so
Yoda.
good.
It was
There's child
incredible.
abuse on a Disney Plus show.
When they
Let's just fucking
when
face
they
it.
shot at
That's
those
amazing.
cans and missed, and then he looked at him, gave him that dirty look, and missed again.
And then he
I
just
lost it.
shakes. He
I
shakes the
lost
thing.
it.
But like that to me, that type of humor works so much
So-
better
Right.
than
So
anything that was
meta,
done.
and, like, anyone who's seen Star Wars
Rise
can
of
get it.
Skywalker, I will say I think the humor was very well done. Like,
I
like
like C-3PO a lot.
Yeah,
they
he
did
shined.
good.
He really did well.
He really did.
That was
Yeah.
actually my biggest takeaway. Was like, wow, they finally gave C-3PO something to do. Since Empire Strikes Back, C-3PO has
been
done.
kinda sitting in the
He
corner.
should've
He should've
Return of
died,
the Jedi when he was in. Okay, fine, Return of the Jedi, but like the humor aspect of C-3PO and like really the anal retentive, paranoid, fearful,
Yes.
like they
nailed it.
I
They
wish
nailed
that
it.
he did actually lose his memory zone.
I know that was such a
Me
take
too,
back. It's
because
like,
that
oh,
hurt.
he's gonna lose it. And then
That
he
was
just plugged it back in.
emotional, and then yeah, all
R2
right, never
doesn't
mind,
back it up
he's alive.
properly. Oh wait, yeah, he does. Sure, why not? Whatever.
Yeah.
You guys keep going. I gotta use the bathroom.
All right,
Go for
well,
it.
You have fun.
So one thing, maybe I'll wait. Nah, I'll start it. So one thing we haven't talked about is the games.
Okay.
And Trio is going to be able to talk more on Battlefront 2. Have you played Battlefront 2's
I have played
campaign?
Battlefront. Yeah.
Because I think that is a campaign that everyone was like, oh, this is going to be cool. And it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was really bad. Have you played Battlefront 2?
I have not played Battlefront 2. I'm still in the middle of Fallen Order. Jedi
Okay.
Fallen Order.
I
So,
haven't
no
really got
spoilers.
into Fallen Order yet.
It's pretty
I have
good,
it. I
man.
started
No
it. I
spoilers
started
for
it.
Fallen
He
Order.
convinced me
Yeah.
to do it. He's like,
yeah.
yo, you gotta play it.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, fine.
So
And
here's my opinion
it's
about
solid.
Fallen Order. I think the story is good.
Okay.
But I think an issue all the games are going to fall into, because I don't think they're going to go outside of 3 and 4, or between 3 and 4, and between
So, 6 and 7. Well, because anything past
How are they gonna
7
do it?
is just a fucking mess. And
And
that's
Yeah, literally at this point, what do you do after 7?
It's like,
Right.
the Emperor's
Yeah.
alive.
That's a
in the
great
universe.
question.
Because
What do they do?
If the Palpatine is really done and now there's really balance, I guess, like with the way that they put it, and there's
What, at
no
the
more
end of
Jedi,
9?
there's no more evil, there can't be any. Yeah, it's done.
What are you doing
Like,
after 9? Seriously, that's a finite ending. It's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, hey, you can do anything in the universe, but what I think Star Wars needs to do, and I've said this multiple times to him,
oh, sorry.
they need to get away from the Skywalker family. Any of your stories that you want to tell, fine, tell
Yeah.
it.
I
Get
have
it-
something
get
for
it-
you. It's called The Mandalorian.
Get,
It's
it,
the
get away
Yeah.
from
greatest-
the Skywalkers. That is how you improve on Star Wars games, movies, TV shows.
Yes.
Because I think they're too wrapped up in these two time periods now of between movies, because there's so much gray area that they can really do what they want.
Yeah.
But it's not that Force Awakens wraps itself up in the Skywalker family, but like it wraps itself up in this point in time that is like, all right, already.
This is the end of the universe. You
Yeah.
have to stop this climactic.
There's
big
another
bet.
Death Star.
So
No, there's a bunch of hey, no, there's a bunch of Death Star ships. All right,
Yeah.
jeez.
So what?
I don't want to go there. I conjured them from the ground.
See all these Sith
who-
people? They've
Have they been living
the
there
Sith-
forever? What's been going on that
he
planet?
conjured them with magic.
He did.
I guess.
Like,
I
yeah.
don't know.
So I was talking
Movie
about
doesn't
Battlefront
explain
2,
it.
Yeah.
and I haven't played it, but a lot of people don't like that game, and I think that is a game that really is just like,
It's got a
we
super
can't get
unfair
away
rap.
from the Scar.
It's
Really?
got so unfair. I mean, start off, yes, it was a terrible launch. They
Yes.
had a
I
really
know, that
ruined it
that
for
game
most
is
people, I
muddled
think.
for a lot of other
the
Oh,
reasons.
what,
launch.
that-
The launch was shit.
That
They
was
did
insane.
do
They
the pay to
didn't
win
release.
bullshit.
They didn't release a finished product.
It wasn't
Period.
that. I don't even think it wasn't that it wasn't finished. It was just so,
so-
stupidly set up.
so
Yeah.
loot
like
box
the loot
centric.
box central and like the way you upgraded your character made no sense.
Yeah, you had
and
to-
like you needed
yeah.
to get
It's called.
credits to do
It's
it.
called a scam.
And
That's what
it
it
was.
was.
It's called
But
a
I
fucking
gotta
scam.
give EA credit. They went in and I mean it's because people bitched, sure, but they completely redid the upgrades, the system, how you rank up and how you get your gun. It makes sense now. You can't buy anything except cosmetics. They're releasing
We
all this
should
free
be bitching.
DLC.
By
Oh,
the
yeah,
way,
exactly.
every time that people like us sit around a table and bitch, they make changes. They make the Mandalorian.
Yes.
They fix Sonic the Hedgehog.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, they
we
fix-
need to keep bitching.
Last year was the year of fixing.
Why do you
Pokemon
think I've been so
just
Zack Snyder
announced
centric?
they're
Because DC
bringing
is
out
going to
the stuff
release
back
it.
that
Yeah.
Literally, the fan base was nuts about it. It's what people
like,
are doing now.
Bitch, keep bitching. They're listening.
But like
No.
seriously,
Yes.
look at the release the Snyder Cut movement. Look at that fucking movement.
dude, that's happening.
It is happening.
You every
Oh,
day
yeah.
you update me a little bit more.
I'm like, it's happening.
That's
It's gonna
marketing,
happen.
though. I feel like to me, like they are gonna. No, they're gonna release it. But that was
Good.
the only reason that got so up and hyped is because WB does want to release it now, and I think that's a good thing. But back to Battlefront, that game it's Battlefront. It is. It's awesome now. Like you can play.
And I was more talking about not the game being bad, like the story.
Yeah, the story was
component.
very meh. But I really do think if you're looking
you weren't
for,
talking about the story. You're talking about the game.
no,
in
I'm
general.
talking about the multiplayer.
I was
stuff.
talking about the story.
Oh yeah, those stories. It's okay.
And it tried to root itself in. Oh, here's Leia. Here's Luke.
Yeah.
Here's
well, it's connected to the main
Lando.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but, like,
Callbacks.
it's just like, look at what Knights of the Old Republic did. One of probably like people's a lot of people fucking
best
love
Star
that
Wars
game.
game.
Not because
Favorite
it's a
game
Star
of
Wars
all
game.
time, rather than just not even Star Wars. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That game has so
And again,
many
that
high
was
praises.
back in a time though of George Lucas was like, all right, this is long. Let me look at it. Okay, that's
Yes.
fine. I'll let you do that
But
Star
George
Wars
would
thing.
sign off on
Like
anything.
what,
Oh,
what,
yeah,
what-
there's-
But
That's
even
the
like that's
thing.
with
like
the EU,
we need more.
80% of
we
that.
don't need more
shit.
movies or TV shows
Yeah.
in that. I think that's a great territory for the games to explore. And it's just like Fallen Order.
beginning.
Fallen
Oh,
Order is
yeah.
going to get a sequel.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do? With
I
it?
think so. My hope is it will be
new
Jedi
hope.
Fallen Order. No, it'll just be Jedi : something else. It's not even about Cal. It's going to be an analog.
No,
analog.
I-
100%. I think
What's the word I'm looking
though,
for?
I mean, like let's
He didn't
really
beat it
think
yet, so
back.
careful
I
not
did
to
not.
spoil
I did not beat it yet. Yet I'm halfway there.
Yeah.
Low key, Star Wars games have always kind of held the entire franchise together. Because look
Yeah.
at the prequels for the most part, other than 3, which I actually very much enjoy, are bad movies.
Yes.
Right. They're not good storytelling. They're not good action. But the worlds that they created that allowed game developers to live inside of, and then us
amazing.
as players to go inside of these movies, made them more palpable and made them part of the lore.
That's all the shit people had.
Yes.
If the movies weren't being made. With these
But
games, like, Rogue Squadron, Shadow of the Empire, like
But
all this
but
random
straight
shit.
up,
Yeah.
the games kept the series alive because they lived in those worlds and let us experience those worlds firsthand.
And again, another bad decision by Disney to give that to EA.
Yeah.
Like, I can't
Yeah.
say- like, I-
Yes.
Come on.
like they
But
really
Disney
did.
Yes.
wants the money. And
But
the
that's
EA
all that it's
is a big
about.
boy.
Which
Yeah.
is
No,
why
they're big boy, but even like I think they literally did just think like, oh, they're a big company. They don't know anything about video games. So like, oh, they'll give us a bunch of money to do the license. Sure, let's give it to you.
I want to see more of like a Bethesda takeover
Dude.
I could
of
see
it.
that.
That
I
was
could see
my
that.
That'll never
dream.
happen.
It
I will
never
never
happen.
ever happen. But like
happen.
just that style
on
of how
talking. If I had a
Fallout and
pipe
Elder
dream,
Scrolls are done. That's
amazing.
what Star Wars needs because it's so big.
Well,
need an
and-
RPG.
and, like
Any-
Respawn did a good job, but I feel
Yes.
like the game is gets
bare
lost
bones.
in the
It's
genre.
kinda bare bones.
It needed a few more months in the oven to
Sure.
develop. Like I feel like a lot of people are too high on that game.
There's no exploring.
It's good,
and
but
stuff.
it's not that good.
You
It's
walk
great,
a path,
actually.
you can click on a couple
a
extra
trio.
things, but you're on a set path the whole time. And
Some
I think
people
it
do
needs.
like
But
linear
I actually
gaming,
think
though.
it needed
Some
to
I
be
don't,
more
I, don't,
like
I,
linear
don't, I
gaming.
don't mind linearity in
I
games.
don't either, and depending on how the game is
There are
put,
too
and
many
this
more.
game
There are too
is-
many more open world
There's
games.
too many
than there should
sandbox
be.
games.
But
Sometimes I like a straight.
Star Wars needs this. I think
I
can
think
have
they're-
a
I
sandbox
agree.
and
It
be
can- right.
incredible.
I think that game that they set up with Jedi Fallen Order though would have been more akin to having a more direct path through the
Yes,
world,
okay.
rather than me jump. But I agree. I
Yeah.
want. Give me a fucking Knights of the Old Republic. I've replayed that game.
They might make that into a movie trilogy coming
Well,
up
so
now,
that's the rumor that the next
Yeah,
one
but
with
would be in
Revan
the
and
High
stuff.
Republic
He's
era.
canon now.
He's canon because of Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Why though?
His
And
ship
the-
is named after him. One of
and
the
there's-
Death one of the Star
one of the
Destroyers.
Star
Oh, really?
Destroyers.
I almost
That-
said Death Destroyer, but I guess
You have
that's
to. You have
I
to
guess
buy the
that's
visual
right.
dictionary.
I was like
to
that
know
they
anything.
don't
worry.
name in the movie.
But I won't buy that, and I'll just be like,
I will too. Like, this is cool, but like, if you
This
don't
is
have
cool.
that, then like nothing makes sense.
You
I
know,
hate
it's-
how they do that.
It's true, and yeah, I think that Old Republic era is ripe for picking, and I
Because
really
to,
want
to
more.
your
much.
point, it doesn't have anything to do with the Skywalkers. But like also now we can get away from, because in my brain a Star Wars movie has a very specific feel, very specific look and type of dialogue, right? And that's why I don't like most of the prequels. I don't like most of the sequels because they get away from that core of what I love about Star Wars.
Sure.
But if you remove it completely and throw it in the Knights of the Old Republic, go back however many years, you can really do anything you want.
You
Yeah,
can
it
even
could
make
be like
even
medieval.
more
Like,
yeah,
yes,
like
that's
it's,
what I want.
It's more.
There's a Jedi Order, there's a Sith Order,
Yeah.
and they.
Like,
I
but
want to see
the-
lightsabers every
and
Take
they-
day.
they
Palpatine,
clash,
take
yeah.
Anakin, take
Yeah.
Obi-Wan, and just get it the fuck out of here and let it live and breathe in this universe. Because I feel like Star Wars is a very limited universe for how expansive it is.
It could be, yeah.
Just because we've lived in this specific
This saga.
50-year Skywalker saga
Did you
for
see
so
they
long.
changed the time period? Like
Is
the
it
way
really?
that they're calling it, like it used to be BBY before Battle
See, I
Yavin,
heard
now
that
it's
was-
before Force before Force Awakens, I think.
Oh.
See, no,
before
I
Star
thought
Killer
that was-
Incident. That's what it's called. BSI rather than BBY.
As a
I
man who
thought that
likes
was
Force
not true.
Awakens.
I thought
Really?
I saw something online like people were freaking
I was
out
like,
about
wait,
that, but
wait,
no,
what?
I could be wrong though. I'd actually have to look at more.
I didn't
like,
see
that doesn't
anything
make
like
any
that,
It sounds
but
like
yeah.
you're falling victim to a lot of fake news.
Yeah, right.
Jeez, no. But again,
Even
like
in Star Wars, it's everywhere.
So
yeah.
God damn it, Trump.
getting back to like what you guys would have maybe liked to see out of these sequels instead of what we got. Like, did you want something more akin like with Luke to like the EU?
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Because the reason I don't love that stuff is because he's like a god.
No, my
kinda
favorite
is, but-
favorite stories are with Jaina Solo, Jason Solo, and Anakin Solo. The three kids of Han and Leia who are
Yeah.
Jedis. You know, Jaina takes over the position in the Rogue Squadron, becomes like top Jedi pretty much, top squadron. Like, she's an incredible character. Jason deals with a lot of struggling with going to the dark side, not wanting to use the Force because he thinks it hurts people or is it wrong. And then Anakin is a young kid and he ends up dying at age like 15. And there's so much story in those things. And Luke is not really God at that point, you know? Like, he is very powerful, he's very wise, like, looked up to him, but he's pretty much hated by
He's
all
kind
of
of
them.
like
He's kind of like
Like I really
Shit.
do enjoy the thing that I do
continue.
love about The Last Jedi is that characterization of Luke, and I know it's like it's almost sacrilege. He throws the lightsaber off
I
the cliff.
want him to be God,
but I
though.
like.
I love Luke.
See,
That's
I like
super
that. And I think
powerful.
that's cool, but I think that to me, anyways, it gets boring.
So I have a
Like,
really, I have a kind of controversial hot take that a lot of people in both the Star Wars universe and the Star Wars universe of fandom and in the movie fandom universe kind of agree or disagree with me. I think in New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker is the single greatest movie character of all time.
Really?
sure. I can get behind
That's
that.
a hot take.
I cannot think of, and I've really spent a lot of time on this. Like, I can't think of any other character that goes through that type of trial and change and then comes out as this force of good and like this positive character that it's kind of all wrapped up so nicely at Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I kind of don't want that character then to be
Unfurled.
warped and changed
Yeah.
into like something that is like not where he ends up. Because to me, Return of the Jedi is always going to be such a finite ending.
Oh, I love that
To
movie.
that I love
When
Return
he
of the
throws
Jedi.
that lightsaber away and does not kill his father, that is
Yes,
incredible.
no, I'll never join you. You
Yes.
failed, Your Highness. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get chills.
so good.
Yes.
Like,
It's so good.
I love Luke Skywalker in that movie so much because of what happened in the previous two. But to see him in
Last Jedi.
I almost said Return
It's
of the
okay.
Jedi.
There's The Last
Yeah.
Jedi, Return of the Jedi, Return
But
of
like,
the Sith.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
You have him in that spot already that it's really tough and
don't-
it seems out of character
It
for him to
does.
revert
Yeah.
to that.
Yes.
And I think that's fair.
It's an interesting thing to explore, but to make it something that's 100% canon and lives so prominently in the universe is where his character goes and ends up. It's uncomfortable to me, and I think
I hear you.
Mark Hamill feels the same way about it.
Yeah, I just there's something about the growth in that movie of him losing his faith and regaining it, and by then he's like at the beginning of the movie he's like, "What do you want me to do? Do you want me to go face the fucking Empire down with my laser sword?" And
Yeah.
that's not gonna happen, and that's what he fucking does. But he doesn't do it in the flippy "I'm gonna fight Kylo Ren" in this big bashing lightsaber battle.
No, he weirdly projects himself.
He
With
force
the wrong
projects.
lightsaber.
I know, with the
Wait,
wrong
whatever.
lightsaber.
With the wrong lightsaber.
But I don't even think it's the wrong. I don't think it's the wrong lightsaber. I think it's the one that he chooses to hold.
It's
And
not his light. It's Anakin's lightsaber.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
would have been
It's-
his if he hadn't lost
But the
it.
way that the sequel trilogy describes that lightsaber is like,
Yeah,
this
wait,
is
how
Luke's
did- how did-
lightsaber.
Yeah,
it's
no,
not.
it's
That's
Anakin's lightsaber, and then
Luke's is the
the
green
worst
one.
is that
But it's-
she says this is a story for another time, and then they never tell
That's
you.
literally that quote could encompass the entirety of Star Wars.
Yes.
That's a good point, but it's a story for another time. It's like, no, tell me that
Yeah,
now.
it's
you
like,
fucking-
I need to
And that-
know.
and
I
that's
don't
kinda-
even care if someone called it. Just say it. Like,
So
you know?
going off of your point of Luke Skywalker was the first Skywalker we ever got introduced to.
Okay, yeah.
The Skywalker saga essentially rests on his base. That's kind of what I wanted to happen to Rey. I didn't want Rey to be somebody. I wanted her to be a nobody, a totally new character who isn't gonna rebrand herself as a Skywalker. And what the fuck does she do? Rebrands herself
but like,
as a
literally the
Skywalker.
idea that, oh my god, I'm a good character, but my family lineage is bad, is literally no, Luke, I am your father. It's the same plot twist. At the end, she's a Skywalker. It's so uninteresting.
And
to
like,
me
and,
as a character.
and like she gets her
And you know what?
with shitty binary sunset moment, which is bad. Which I'm like, oh, because like one of my favorite scenes of Star Wars is that just Luke looking at the two sons.
That's one of everyone's
Luke
favorite. That's a
embraces it though,
brilliant
and
movie.
that's
It's
why
so good.
I like Luke's with that is when he's I am your father. At first it hurts him, but he embraces it. He saves his father.
you
I am
can
a
say
Jedi
one
like
truth.
my father before me.
Yeah.
She's like, wait, who are you? Like honestly, if she said I'm a Palpatine, I would have been like,
And
cool.
she owned it.
She
Yeah.
owned that shit.
Yeah.
My
No,
name's Rey
instead she's like,
Palpatine.
I'm just a Skywalker.
Or
I
just
kind of
more-
do-
what's your name?
I kind of do
Rey.
get the Palpatine
Just-
thing of like that's a shitty rap.
It is.
Like
It is.
Darth Vader
But
was Darth Vader. He wasn't Anakin Skywalker.
I thought
People
that they were
didn't
going with
know,
a theme of like,
Right.
be proud of who you
oh,
are,
you're-
and in
oh,
this,
Right,
it's
or
like,
if she said, I'm
Ray.
Just
Yeah.
Ray.
Ray.
I would have
Yeah.
liked that.
Period. I'm a nobody.
Yes.
Like, go off of the idea.
Yeah,
that
and
Rian
like
Johnson built.
killing
Exactly.
like if anything, like we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
Ben Solo should have had that moment.
Yes.
If Ben Solo dubbed himself as a Skywalker, it would make more sense because he is a fucking
I
Skywalker.
need more. I wish that they just had Snoke take
Thank you.
over at the end of The Last Jedi as well as Kylo turn. If Kylo turned at the time of Luke, I wanted more. I wanted more Ben Solo. I thought he would have been
Right.
incredible.
And he's
Jedi.
just getting started.
He
I
would've
think.
been
There were some
amazing.
little things with him in that movie that I was rewatching. I'm like, oh, this is fuck. Like when he's
Yeah.
running across the hallway, he does the Han Solo shoot behind the
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
He gets
Yeah,
the lightsaber
nice.
out.
I was like,
and,
good.
and they go like the scene where like, oh fuck, and then he goes,
Yeah, the Knights of
come on,
Ren
Yes.
is
and the
literally
way
nothing.
he just
The
fucking,
more I
he
think about the
knocks on his
kiss,
back, he takes his breath, and then he comes. It's
the
Kylo
more
Ren
I
is
think about that
amazing.
kiss scene between those two, the more I like it.
I
don't hate it
completely
either.
disagree.
I don't hate it. I don't
I
hate
don't
it.
hate
Completely
it.
I don't hate the kiss.
Couldn't disagree with
Here's
you
my
more.
reasoning. If they didn't do what they did, I feel like it would have meant more. I feel like the kiss like really doesn't mean anything once they die, or once
Yeah.
once
But
he dies.
they had never at any point was their relationship anything other than platonic. And then to
Right, but
sneak-
they had a
to
forced
sneak in
connection
a-
of
And
which-
I think she
of which
knew
we
he was
didn't
gonna die.
understand.
And like, if I think of it as that way, like she knew that like he just gave her his life, and then she kissed him for it. I think if you go in with that mindset, it makes a lot of sense, and it does feel good. Yeah,
I was
like,
very
otherwise,
indifferent. About
it is
the kiss.
weird.
but everything else, like in they do, like all three of our main characters never really hang out during the entire movie, but they're all hugging
That was
and
one
being
of
weird
my favorite
the
parts
whole
of
time.
of Rise of Skywalker. Was
Yes.
actually seeing them, the three mains.
Like
agree.
C-3PO
Yeah, and
being
they
like,
actually-
"Oh, I get
and then-
to take one last look at my friends." It's like, are they your friends?
And then
Yeah,
they'll be
I
like,
hate
"Hey,
you,
hey,
C-3PO.
Rose,
I hate you too.
Hey Rose, are you coming? No, I gotta study
No,
these
no,
plans."
literally. All right, there, pal. Like they literally friend zone.
Apparently,
Rose.
she was like, "Don't put me in this a lot."
Well, okay.
No,
like,
apparently
who?
they cut a lot of scenes.
Who?
Like she
Oh,
has,
really?
The
I
actress who
heard
played
she has
Rose, I
more
feel
scenes with
so
Leia.
So bad for her.
Dude, the interviews
too.
that
Oh
she
my
gets
God.
asked, like one of them was like she laughed like right in the person's face, and it's just like let me give you a bullshit answer.
I feel so bad for that actress. I don't like that character. I don't like what they did with her. I don't like that
Tran
she's
is her
in.
last name.
Kelly Marie Tran.
And that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But the hate that she got from
It's
fans
ridiculous.
was
She
like,
does not
yo,
deserve it.
Like that's
come
just like, guys, are you
on.
serious?
Her character was absolute trash,
her
but
character
her
was
as an
trash, but
actor
she
in
is.
person, I'm sure she's a wonderful
Yeah.
person.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
that's
actor,
not
same.
fair.
It's ridiculous. And
Absolutely,
that's getting
but-
back to the thing of it's not the actor's fault. It's
Star
the-
Wars fans can be the worst. Let's be
They're-
real.
and it-
They can
yes.
be the worst. They can be the best. They can be
But
everything
also
in
the
between.
way
It
that
sucks.
Ryan Johnson, I like the way he went about it. I dislike that too. He said like making fun of fans, kind of like playing around, but but you shouldn't do that. He defends
shit-
himself.
I
too
guess
Kind
much.
of shit on the fans the same way that
Yes.
what's Paul Feig did with the Ghostbusters fans with Ghostbusters 2016. Like it's like, hey, we're not really happy with this product, and he went, well, fuck you.
Yeah, well then
Well,
you don't
I
like
think-
it. I'm in charge.
I didn't even feel like with Ryan Johnson. I feel like the amount of vitriol he's probably getting all the time, everywhere on Twitter.
not
I
worth
can
it.
understand that he's just kind of like, guys, fuck off.
I like
get it.
Ryan Johnson. I do. I think he's a great director. I did not see Knives Out, but I've
I've heard good
I
things
I
about
watched
that.
the behind the scenes stuff with him,
Yeah.
and I feel
really wanna
passion.
watch
I'm a
that.
I
huge
feel like
Breaking
he really
Bad
does.
fan. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a disrespect to Ryan Johnson for me to say like you kind of fucked up on this one,
Right.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he shouldn't have been the.
Of course,
he
yeah,
shouldn't have
yeah,
been
yeah.
the person to do it.
He's not the guy. He's a guy, but he's not the guy. The
And
fact
maybe-
that they handed the whole thing to him.
And they're like, do it. And that's one thing I sort of do respect, at least on that movie, for like being like, all right, you do it. Do what you want to
But
do.
he dropped a grenade in the middle of
Yes.
Star Wars.
Of just
That- I don't
everything.
know, what do we do from
And it's
here?
funny because I think they were watching that like, oh, this is going to be cool. Like Disney,
Yeah.
before it even came out, they're like, oh, this is cool. This is different. We let him do his thing. And it came out and it got good critic reviews. But then
And then
then
the
the
fans.
fans came in and I was like, and it's funny because I was listening to reviews and then I walked out. I'm like, what the hell is everyone talking about? This isn't like this. It's not great.
Half the
it's
fans
not. No,
hate
it is.
half
I
the
actually think
fans
it's
love
great.
It's right down the middle.
Oh,
It
it's
really is
insane.
split.
It's
And,
yeah.
like,
So fans either call it the second one to Empire Strikes Back or the second to last best one right before Attack of the Clones. Like,
Yeah.
there's no in between with
It's
Last
weird.
You
Jedi.
And
either
it's
love it or you
right.
hate it.
And
'cause
I
you
put
can't.
it-
And
down
Rise
and
of
you
the
put it-
Rise of Skywalker is the exact opposite. I feel like it's mixed.
mid-tier.
It's so mixed.
It's very
Yeah.
mid-tier. Of
Everyone
like,
and nobody. I've never seen everyone be like, "I fucking loved it" and "I fucking hate it." I've heard I fucking loved it. I
Yeah.
haven't heard I fucking hated it.
It's, to me, it's just too messy to.
But if you really like The Last Jedi, I can't see how you like it
No.
because it slaps you in the face if you like The Last Jedi.
I think
but-
again, I think there's the main storyline of Luke. I think shines through, and
Okay,
I do
well, that's-
appreciate
yeah.
that. But yeah, the other stuff with Rey, I'm like,
it does. It
was-
hurts.
no,
It's
I'm like, I don't want to palpate.
I was talking to two buddies of mine, right, and one of them hated Rise of Skywalker, and one of them loved Rise
Yeah.
of Skywalker. So I was kind of in the middle. I go, it's too messy for me to really have an opinion on,
Sure.
because I can see right through it. But my one buddy's like, I hate it. My other buddy goes, oh, I absolutely loved it, and he turns to him and goes, why? Like, it's like, he's like, can you explain to me 3 points why you love this movie? He goes, no, I just like it. And I think that's what it is. I don't think a lot of people who love it are going to be able to defend it as like, this is a good story element. This is a good plot telling device.
No, you're
but I
right.
think either you like it or you're going to like red letter media it and just pick it
I
apart to
think
no end.
the plot devices with Luke are really good. I like the storyline between Rey and Kylo. I love that Kylo says "fuck you" to his master and kills him. I just think there are twists that make sense.
I would
to
have
me,
liked
and
that twist a lot more if he turned though, because
What do you
he
mean
doesn't
he
turn.
turned?
Like if he was good now, like all right, he did that, and then
See, I like it better that he's like, no, fuck him, I'm my master, and
But
like
then-
he Snoke pushed him, and he realized, no, I don't.
I mean,
need
like,
a
point,
master.
then I would've rather seen him
Kylo
die as
Ren
a
is
bad guy.
really not a Sith. He's not.
No,
evil.
he's not.
He's definitely
He's just
using
a-
the First Order and
he's just
yeah.
a
clear as day
angry,
and Rise.
confused
Yes,
guy.
but his like as
Like
much as I
Anakin.
like his character,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
he
like-
does in the he has like an up and down kind of story of how he eventually gets to be
It's fun. Like you could have finished with Last
light
Jedi.
side. I guess you would go.
Like,
Last
it would've-
Jedi
it
feels
could've
like an
fit.
ending. You
is-
should swap the movies.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
I hate
it's
to
really-
say that.
Honestly, you could.
But like Last Jedi, like I remember leaving that and just kind of, and again, I don't like it, and people
course.
who do like it,
No, yeah.
that's fine. I'm not gonna criticize it.
Please
for that
tell me that I'm right.
Yeah, but like to me, leaving it, the number one thing I got out of it was that's it.
That's
it's
the
over.
done,
It's
yeah.
it's the end. Luke died. It's over.
Yeah.
It's like
Kylo's
there's a
gonna
third
leave the
one-
First Order.
Yeah, there's a third one after this. Like, where are you going to go after this? And the idea was, we don't fucking know. We'll do literally everything at once.
Yeah,
and
right.
that's what Rise of Skywalker is. It's
Exactly.
a mess. Rise of Skywalker, whether you love it, hate it, you're indifferent. It doesn't really. To me, it's like I dislike it, but it's every scene is so all over the place. Like,
yeah.
where am I going to pinpoint? It's like from
And
the
there's a
dead
lot of
speak,
things you just have
like-
to accept.
Yeah.
And it's funny that kind of thing didn't even. It was just more of like, all right, so you're gonna give me all these plot points
Yeah.
in the opening crawl. I'm gonna just have to accept
I
them.
just okay.
Right.
I
You're
called
gonna
it
tell-
Sure, why not the movie? The whole movie, I kept turning my brain.
Literally.
Like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Literally, like when
Chewie's
he
dead.
goes,
Oh
she's
no,
a
he's
pal.
not. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that was
Like,
dumb.
moving
Imagine
on.
if she
Too many
killed
movies.
him. Would have been so much more powerful.
I
Yeah.
actually was like, wow, that's a lot of balls. Oh,
The
he's alive.
scene
Yeah.
that was, I think, my favorite scene out of the whole movie. Though
When she shot the Force
shoots
Yes,
the lightning.
but he should have died. Same
But
with, just as
immediately
Leia
after.
should have died when Kylo was staring at her. Like he almost killed her, then realized it, and then someone else killed her. Imagine the emotion of that. Like
Leia
he
should-
wasn't
even
gonna
like-
kill her.
Yeah, Leia shouldn't have been in Rise.
Leia should have been the one that flew the ship and the other ship in Last Jedi.
Like
Well,
Leia
see,
should
but
have
again-
saved the day. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that should've
again,
been
you
Leia.
gotta realize when they made that movie, Leia, what's her name was still Carrie Fisher
Carrie
was still
Fisher.
very much alive.
I don't
And,
think
like,
they did not plan
They
on her
did not
passing
plan
away.
at all
No,
for her to
absolutely
pass. They
not.
thought they
Yeah,
were going
and
to
that
get
was
her
hard.
for the-
No.
It seemed from what they were talking, she was going to take on the master role.
Every
of
one of
showing-
those characters had their own movie. The Force Awakens was supposed to be Han Solo. Last Jedi was Luke, and then Rise
Leia
of
was supposed to
Skywalker
get the
was
last
Leia,
one. She was going to
yes.
get that
Right.
reveal of being an actual Jedi.
Hey, they
and
did a
that's-
good. They did
Yes,
a good
for
job.
what they
of
had,
what
they did a good
had.
The
job.
only
They
thing
did.
I
What are you gonna
love that she showed that she could use the Force in the Last Jedi. Did I like the way she did it? No. That's the thing. I was very like I would have loved to see an actual
Yes,
reason of her showing her Force powers, but no, we got
I
this
agree.
weird thing where she somehow
Like reverses
Like
time
reverse,
and goes
like
back.
even if she like maybe made a force bubble around
here I
her,
come
it
back.
exploded, and then she just walked in the door like, I'm fine, guys,
and then
relax.
my biggest thing though is them really staying away from the prequels and not giving us Anakin in any sense of the world. Like they
Anakin
gave
was
us Darth
the chosen
like
one. Period.
Luke Skywalker's the first Skywalker we meet. He's the story of Star Wars. But if you look at it as a whole, it's not the story of Palpatine being a bad guy. It's the story of Anakin Skywalker
Palpatine
and his
is a
son and
secondary
daughter,
villain,
his
too.
legacy, and just his entire thing. So the fact that Kylo did not talk to Anakin, nothing. That was
Anakin at the end,
just
you're right. It's when instead of being like scruffy, didn't shower today, Harrison
Solo,
Ford,
why was that not Darth
should
Vader?
Should have been
like, hey,
Hayden
listen,
Christensen.
Hey,
I-
I did the same mistakes as you. It's
yeah,
okay.
I see.
Yeah.
I was the chosen one. I fucked up. My son saved me. Like,
hey man, I killed a bunch of
let's
children.
talk.
You can come back.
You can come back.
Skywalker, what's going on?
Did you ever see the robot chicken when he's like, all right, I gotta do this. I gotta do this.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
happy place. And he opens his eyes and he's in like a field of daisies.
Yeah,
he's
and he's, like,
yay,
cutting them down.
yay, like cutting off all
Do you ever
the
see?
tops.
You ever see where that kid the actor who played that kid like walked up to Hayden Christensen at like a con?
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, it's me." He's like, "Oh!" And
No
then they took a
way.
photo
And I mean,
together.
dude, he was at So there's rumors about like a JJ cut, like that they're like they did with Endgame.
What's the point? No offense.
Hashtag release the
there's,
JJ
like,
cut.
There's two stories behind it. Apparently, one was he was like getting just totally berated by like the upper brass, and they wanted to do these things, and he had all these. Apparently, there was a Force Ghost moment at the end.
They
All
were
those
also supposed to have
people were
Force Ghost
supposed
moments.
to be.
Yeah, they all were filmed. I
They,
believe.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Hayden Christensen supposedly did his stuff, and
Yeah,
like
and they put him in the back. And he's like, "You use the
It's
He's like,
And-
"Shut- come on."
again, like I really, I did my rewatch
was.
for Last Jedi, or not for Last Jedi, for Rise of Skywalker, and those prequels were a bit of a trek for me. Like especially the second one, I was like,
Episode 2 is the worst one in the like by bar none. Episode 2 is
Revenge
the
of
low
the
point.
Revenge of the Sith gets too much hate.
I love Revenge of the
Hate?
Sith.
Oh, yeah,
I
I love
think
it.
the
I love
beginning-
Revenge of the
love
Sith.
Revenge of the
I
Sith.
don't
beginning
hate
and end
either
of
of the
Revenge of
first
the
two
Sith
either.
are
I
good.
like one.
I
do
know
not.
why
Wait,
they're
so-
hated, and
said
I get it.
The
but I
beginning
don't
and
hate one or
ending
two.
of
I
Revenge of the
don't.
Sith is
Don't like
good. The
two.
middle is
I don't
like,
need
I
the
don't
entire
even know.
love
Okay.
scene into.
I
Like,
hate
a lot of that
sand.
is very
It's
the
so
sand,
coarse
like, that
and
is-
rough.
I was watching
Oh, but-
I was watching the deleted scenes on Disney Plus for Attack of the Clones, and it's just Anakin like walking through the garden with Padme's parents, and like there's this whole cut sequence with like
Padme's
where
parents.
you meet her parents and like her family, and like there's this.
So Anakin, what do you
Dude.
do for a living?
Literally, I'm not even kidding you. That's like the fucking
I
conversation.
I will go on record of saying I truly do not like episode 2 Attack of the Clones.
Dude,
I like bottom
one
of
or
the
two.
barrel for me.
That's
2 is my
fucking
least favorite
hysterical.
for sure.
And even
But
one,
I
there
don't
are
hate it.
some scenes that I'm like,
I
okay,
enjoy
this is
one.
cool.
I enjoy Phantom
They
Menace.
give
I
you the
love
best,
Revenge of the
one of
Sith.
the best
I gotta
lightsaber battles
rewatch
in
it.
one.
The one
Revenge
thing
of the
with
Sith is
those
way
three-
better than most people think it is.
Yeah.
It's
Revenge of the Sith is
especially,
way
too,
better.
After watching 1 and 2, and I went to 3, I'm like,
What-
this is
like-
a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
What
Like,
the fuck
I,
am
I just rewatched them before Rise of Skywalker.
It's similar to the
the
Rise
Yeah.
of Skywalker in a sense, though. Revenge of the Sith is all 3 movies in one. Again,
Yeah.
like, but 1 and 2, however, give you a little bit more. Like his
One gives
turn
you
is, well, one gives you Darth Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Okay.
fighting.
Well,
That's
yeah.
it.
Hey,
That's really it.
What is
But-
Darth
yeah.
Maul flips around with a glow stick and then
And
dies.
Duel of the
The
Fates.
end.
Yes,
Don't forget
and,
Duel of
and
the
Duel of
Fates.
Fates, the best
song
musical
doesn't
score of
sing-
anything ever.
Hey guys,
Agreed, but
surprise,
the song
surprise.
saved that
Star
movie.
Wars is very inconsistent.
It is. It is.
Everyone asked the
You don't
question.
say.
We started off saying, does Disney ruin Star Wars? To
Did
me,
they?
Star Wars has been fundamentally broken since 1997 when they released the special editions.
Right.
Since that
Right.
moment,
they picked
Star
up
Wars,
a broken product.
it's
Yeah.
been broken since that time. There's no way around that for me. So everything to me is like I have what I like and I have what I don't
Yes,
like.
and you have a
That's
head
fair.
canon,
I
and you
have
go
a
with
question
that.
for you guys. New person, they've never watched Star Wars in their life. They want to.
4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3.
Good.
Yep.
Because
There's
the
no
thing
other.
is-
There's
say
no
the
other
same
way to
thing.
do
The
it.
thing
there's
is
no
with-
debate
the,
with
the
that.
one thing with the sequel trilogy, I don't, even if it does do these storylines where you're like, oh, well, did Anakin really sacrifice himself, and does that even count? That doesn't affect those 3 for me at all.
doesn't.
No.
But whereas if you watch 1 through 3 before 4 through
It's
6,
ruined. There's no point of
It's-
watching
yeah.
4
there's
through,
zero.
4 through 6.
There's nothing.
And those are the best
it
ones.
fundamentally just you're like, oh, Anakin's been this whiny bitch, and he turns into this
Yes.
mass murderer.
Yeah, what do
And
I
I'm
care
like-
about him?
And again, that's not even Hayden Christensen's fault. I think he does pretty well in the third one because he got an acting
He
coach to
is
help himself
actually
out.
really good in the third one.
Yeah.
In the second one, it's I don't know if it's
It's
Hayden's
very
fault or
stoic.
George's fault, but he is not good in
Well,
that movie.
apparently, and even George. like I love him. He gave us a franchise that's amazing and cool, and I respect
I have
the guy.
a lot of mixed feelings.
I
on
think
George
he
Lucas.
Star Wars
but
has
he's not-
fundamentally changed the world.
But he is not
Yes,
beyond.
absolutely.
He is not
Yeah.
beyond reproach, and he has made some bad decisions. And there's just stuff like
Jar
even
Jar
getting
Binks.
back. You get back to the EU, and you're seeing this like how you're talking about like the Jedi Order. They didn't like it's a much more lax Jedi Order,
yeah.
and it's all this. They didn't even. You didn't even know back in 1990 what the real Jedi Order was like, and there was no like. And it comes out, they're all these celibate guys, knights who don't have sex
Fanatical
and kind of
monks.
feelings.
Yeah,
they're like
eunuchs.
basically they're pretty shitty. Like,
they're
kinda-
fanatics.
But I kind of like in Last Jedi, and again, Last Jedi. I like that Luke kind of points out the Jedi are shitty.
That's the
like,
thing.
He's
Yeah.
like,
He's
the
like,
Jedi
yeah, that's-
suck. What
yeah.
are they? They're just a bunch of celibate weirdo
He's
monks
like, they're done.
who are
Like,
generals. It's like,
Yeah,
they
no,
suck. I get it.
that's something
That's
I do
interesting.
like from The Last Jedi, and like how I liked it in Rise of Skywalker, and I want to see more of it. Luke realizing that Jedi Order doesn't work, and I agree, it clearly
reason
doesn't
it
work.
fell.
Bro.
There's
Right,
a
it
reason
needs
fell.
a
reformation.
It needs a revelation. It needs something.
It's a religion.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a
because
religion
of
that's
that
living
though
in the
to me
21st
wasn't
century.
believable.
Yeah.
But
Right, I
him
can
coming
agree
to
with
that
you there.
conclusion is a great point. I wish they explored it in a better way.
Right,
But yeah,
exactly.
him giving up on it because he thinks it's failed. No, because like you all said earlier, how he was never really there for the general stuff.
Yeah.
He didn't know that.
Yeah,
that they were. I
Bang,
mean,
it
unless
was-
he's been
he was-
talking to all the
you know,
ghosts
but
the
of
whole
course,
time. But sure.
of course, Obi-Wan would be high off of it.
And I mean, he
You
had
know, because I really never think
But
Obi-Wan wavered.
even them bringing Yoda in and him being like, fuck it, fuck the Jedi, whatever. At the end of it, Yoda
But page turners, they were not.
Yoda was like,
okay.
at the end of it, right when he dies, he says, train them, keep going, don't
Yeah.
let the Jedi
Well, but I
fail.
also-
And like so,
one thing I got
Where's
from
that?
that movie is I don't know if it's explicitly said, but this is how I took it. Luke completely cut himself off from the Force.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
when
he did.
they show up, he's like, where the fuck's Han?
yeah,
Like, he would have
that's
felt
true.
that. If he knew, he really felt like he failed, and he didn't.
I
he
wonder
think
how
he could
you
only-
do that. How do you cut yourself off from the
Well,
Force?
see,
when little broom kid
oh,
just
wait.
has it, like how do you cut it
Well,
off?
I
that,
think
that
you
was
can
funny
make
too
a-
because that just because the whole nobody
they
thing
also
got thrown away.
they
so now
also
who's the broom
explore
kid?
that
Who cares?
Again, I think that was more of just to like, there are more Jedi out there,
they
and they're
explore
going to
that
find their
point
way.
in
Yes.
Fallen Order
Is it?
about a little. They talk about it.
You spoil Fallen Order for me.
Well, no,
I
there's
will
I
never
mean,
talk to
the
again.
whole that,
See it
that
work
whole
tomorrow.
game is based around you're finding Force sensitive younglings. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's not
Right,
a
but
spoiler.
like that is a plot point, like cutting yourself off from the Force. I definitely think is a thing.
Yeah.
I
Whether
would
or not
agree.
we
Yeah,
know a
like
lot
it's like
about it.
hiding your
hiding your
yourself,
signature.
Like, yeah,
And
exactly.
again, a lot of inconsistencies with Jedi powers. Like
Well,
it's
they're
so
whatever,
much.
they're
Oh
whatever
my
they
God.
need to be to
In
service
that
the
moment.
movie.
Yeah.
That-
Yes.
and they've always, and like to be fair, even since like Empire Strikes Back, they're pretty clearly defined. No, they're all right. Sorry.
I think the Force healing one is the most
That's the
outlandish
one.
one.
So in New
Yeah.
Hope, it's not that it's defined, but Obi-Wan's kind of like it's this thing that binds the universe. And you can
Yeah.
use it to move objects, trick people's minds. Like it's very low key. And then by Empire Strikes Back, when Luke is like force jumping and everything, you're like, it's kind of whatever it needs to be in that
It's
moment.
like,
Yes.
listen, so there's one part, I was watching Attack of the Clones.
Oh, why?
It's, I'm sorry, not Attack of the Clones. Phantom Menace. Beginning
why?
scene. I had to rewatch it for the
I don't
rewatch.
hate Phantom Menace as much as
No,
Attack
yeah.
of the
So there's beginning scene. They're getting into the ship.
I know where you're going.
They can force run very quickly
Yeah.
away from things.
But later in that movie, when
There's-
Obi-Wan's running down that
there's
hallway,
the gate, the video game gate that closes every 5 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
He's running and just shit closes. Hey, why not use that force speed that you
Yeah,
had
right
literally
through.
at the
that would have
beginning
been a
of the
perfect
movie?
time to use
And
that.
like right? But it's like I'm like, guys,
know,
what are we?
man.
And I actually think in Rise of Skywalker they kind of evolved some of the Force powers in very logical ways. Like they had that, especially with Rey and Kylo.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
that Force connection that had that very.
I thought that was
strong
cool.
bond,
I
and they
actually
could
thought
actually
that was
attach
cool.
physical
how
objects
did,
to each other.
How did people like Kanan? We heard Ahsoka. We heard Mace. Mace was strong, but still.
Yeah.
But in the end of 3, they make it kind of clear that Qui-Gon went and trained so that he
So
could
he could
learn
be-
how to speak, not even be seen.
He
but
was the
speak.
first Force ghost,
And
I
then
believe,
in
Qui-Gon
Clone
Jinn,
Wars,
right?
the cartoon, they actually explore Yoda learning that
Yeah.
a little bit, which is cool. But where did Kanan learn this, or Ezra? Or
But see,
Jar, like
again,
those?
that's why that maybe was a reason they didn't show the ghosts. Maybe they can communicate.
Yes, but
through, but
which
like,
is-
yeah.
So that's cool. But
Oh, except for Leia. Leia can be a ghost.
Oh, 1,000%.
yeah,
Leia's
No,
a
you know what? why?
Duh,
You know what's funny?
duh.
Ben should have been there at the end, standing them with them.
They all
Right,
should
right,
have been.
right.
But you know why? Because then it wouldn't have made any sense if she said I was a Skywalker, because there's a Solo sitting there with the Skywalker.
Yeah.
I
So
really
it's like-
don't like what they did with Leia in I love Princess Leia, by the way. Another one of my favorite
she's
movie
an
characters of
incredible
all
character,
time,
yes.
from New Hope even to this new one. However, when they talk about and like she opens up the thing, she goes, oh, "It's Leia's lightsaber." I'm like, wait. Am I supposed to care about that? Am I like, wait,
Yeah.
Leia has a lightsaber, and then they cut to like this really bad like de-aging effect of
Oh,
them
yeah.
training, and I was like,
Oh,
what?
dude, that
I'm
was
like,
so-
what's going on?
you didn't like
what's
that?
so-
No,
I like that.
I
didn't
like that scene, but you know
We,
what's
we,
funny
we
with
brought
the
that up
de-aging stuff?
specifically, and it was like this very EU moment.
Yeah,
Again,
That
it
should have
was.
just been its own movie then.
I liked Mark's looked great, but hers doesn't look great.
Mark's
but
did
you know
look good.
why? Because she's not in a ton of movies back in it. Like she's
Well,
in
she
Star
looked good
Wars.
in Rogue One. I thought when they
That looked
showed
awesome.
her in
That
Rogue
was
One,
I will say,
I
like,
was
you-
not
especially for
expecting that.
quick
Me neither.
second.
Wow,
But I
right
think it's
after the Darth
lighting
Vader
thing
thing
and things
too.
like that.
Yeah.
But again, I do think they were hamstrung not having her for this one, and they
Yeah.
really had to build a lot of scenes around
it's like
her
Dark-
dialogue
yeah,
that already
really.
existed.
It's like Dark Knight
Actually,
Rises
very,
without
very
having Heath
solid
Ledger.
point. She's not. I mean, neither is Mark Hamill though, but he's still alive.
See, I actually like
well,
the
they
way he's
killed him.
using. Yeah,
Well, no. But like, Carrie Fisher really isn't in a lot of things.
No.
no, she's not. She wasn't.
No.
And so, like, especially with the de-aging thing, the way
Yeah.
they do that is they take a lot of reference photos,
Yeah.
and from your past films and all that stuff. So Mark
Right.
Hamill has more.
But,
And I-
even,
and I
but
don't-
Mark Hamill is also still alive.
And
Yes,
I
exactly.
Very true.
and I don't mean to be disrespectful to Carrie Fisher in any way, shape, or form with
Sure.
what I'm going to say, but Carrie Fisher after Star Wars had a couple of problems in
Tumultuous
her
life.
life, and
Yes,
she wasn't in a
yes.
lot of films. She had gained a lot of weight.
She was
at one
screenwriting a
point.
ton.
Like there was not a lot of what she would look like being.
It wasn't
like Princess
in front
Leia.
of the camera. It was a lot of
Yeah.
behind the camera work
And
in
she
that
didn't
time.
look the same for a while. And when she obviously got her life together, and she's a wonderful human
And I
being.
think she's really great in Force Awakens.
And I think she's great in
Yeah.
Force Awakens. I love her in real life. I know she had a lot of difficulty, but there's not a lot of good reference for her to look that young.
That young, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they did the low light scene of like in
Yeah.
the forest at night.
And that
I would
was
have loved
cool.
to see her. I don't know why. Give her a purple light.
No, I wanted it to be red.
You wanted
And literally
Because
anything but
in the
blue.
EU, she
Literally
does have
anything but
Darth
fucking
Vader's
blue.
lightsaber crystal at some point.
Again,
She
literally
takes it
anything but
and
fucking
it's just
blue.
cool.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
even like
Blue
even a
is
green.
so-
Purple would have been really
That's
cool.
why I love
Purple
seeing
would've
Rey
been
with the yellow lightsaber.
Yes.
Why the fuck does she have a Jedi Temple Guard
cool. Or
lightsaber?
just give me another
Where did that
green
come
one.
from?
Like
Yeah.
we see Luke's green
Well,
lightsaber
like,
there for like a
but
second.
when
I
Luke
was like,
showed up
yes.
at the end of Last Jedi and he had a blue lightsaber, I went wrong.
Yeah,
wrong,
But the
No.
thing, but
wrong.
again, that was
I know
his lightsaber. But especially at the beginning.
But that lightsaber
For sure.
doesn't
Right, but like
matter
that
though,
thing-
because
that-
the fact that Rey wasn't a scholar, what does that lightsaber really matter? They might as well have just given her a new lightsaber
But-
from the beginning. And what plot would
It
that have
didn't
taken?
really
I
matter
wanted
that
the
much
staff
to
lightsaber
Anakin.
so
That would have been
bad.
sick. That would have
hell?
been
The
sick.
pike
She has her
lightsaber.
own
Well, it was
Jedi
the staff.
identity.
And then not only
These are like the
that,
top of the
I
staff.
would have been like, she doesn't even need to train lightsaber combat because she's
got
good
staff,
with a
yeah.
staff. So
It
that's
would have been a
different.
cool,
Her
different
going from staff to
right.
sword and being very efficient with
Dude,
the sword,
would've
I was
loved
like,
to
no,
see the
that's not
pike
okay.
or
Even the dual bladed lightsaber
On the ends.
that you
Like
have
nunchuck
that-
lightsaber thing that she had,
you know,
like
I'm
disconnected,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that's cool.
I'll take
like,
it,
maybe
sure.
is
I
a
do.
staff.
Well, something that speaking of that scene with the nunchuck lightsaber, so much of Rise of Skywalker. I mean, you guys will probably agree with this. Felt like a video game. Like it was like a
was fetch
cutscene.
questy.
It was like exactly.
Yeah.
It was like now put the thing up, and then it's
It
like
was
now
that-
she has to crawl through the ruins of the Death
How
Star.
does that
Have a
dagger
little
work?
Have a little mini boss
It
battle
also,
with
to
yourself.
me,
and
it
then-
felt like a toy store. Like,
Yeah,
as in,
wait.
like, hey, look at these Sith
That is
troopers that
also-
are literally nothing
That's
more
probably
than
like the first
stormtroopers, but
sword
buy their
in
toys.
Star Wars ever.
Yeah, well, it's
Like
like,
that
how does
dagger.
that dagger
was
work?
the most ridiculous
How
thing
does that
I've
work?
ever.
So you stand on. Just
Someone
any point
made
up?
that dagger, I'm guessing, after the Death Star crashed, and then literally made it to the wreckage, thinking that no waves are going to erode any of this
No.
whatsoever.
And then it's like you have to line it up perfectly and hold A to
Yeah.
line it
Again,
up
if it
perfectly.
was a better movie, I'd be willing to accept that. But
if
it's
it was,
not.
if
Like,
it was,
that's the, like,
if it
when
was
it's
a
a good
dagger
movie,
that was made in ancient Sith times, and it wasn't the Death
must
Star
break,
ruins,
I
it
will
was
be
like a secret Sith cave that was there for ancient times, and that
Yeah.
dagger's been around forever. Then I believe, but this dagger and this wreckage is like 15 years old. What the fuck,
guys, what are we
Why
doing?
is this so special?
Like, did you make this out of the Death Star?
yeah,
like, what is
like-
going? Yeah,
Nah, it's weird. Again, and there's
Yeah.
there's just like leaps,
weird
in logic
inconsistencies
and stuff.
And again, like I said, if you're along for the ride and you're enjoying it, you're not going to question those things.
Right,
And
exactly,
that, but
right.
but
It's fun.
now
It's
exactly.
Which I mean, you know, it's funny how Star Wars really appeals to, no offense, the casuals and
Yes.
and the hardcore.
I mean,
It's
they are
very
for
interesting.
kids too. At the same time,
Right,
like it's,
right.
it is a kids.
Again,
not
like,
to say it's not for adults because it very much is.
Disney's
smart
hand
for it to
is
be more
very
kids,
much. I
'cause-
would have liked to seen the timeline of the sequel trilogy if Disney didn't get involved.
Yeah.
I think it would
wonder-
have been another corporation doing the same thing. Yeah.
I mean, like, regardless of who it is, I wonder what would have happened.
Yeah. I mean, to me,
I personally think it would have just gone to another big corporation that would have done the exact same type of story grouping thing.
Was it really
Sony?
just Lucas?
Maybe
Like, somebody had to have given Lucas money to do that first one. Who did it?
It was him. I mean, he bankrolled it. He helped bankroll it as well as getting producers and stuff. Lucasfilm was his. So that he probably had some executive
there's no
producers
other
and
company
stuff.
attached to that movie. Not 20th
don't
Century
believe so.
Fox.
yeah, because he directed and wrote everything for
Right.
4.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Mostly
5 and 6 he got help.
Yeah, because you know
5 of 6, I don't think he directed.
No, I don't think he directed
I thought
5
Lawrence
either.
Kasdan. Yeah.
Did he?
No, I don't think he did.
And then he
Irvin
directed
Kershner
one.
and Richard
He
Marquand.
directed the
That was
prequels
it.
again.
Directors.
Yeah, Irvin Kershner was the director. Let me get to the mic. Irvin Kershner was the director of Episode 5, and Richard Marquand
Yeah.
was the
So-
director of
Kasdan wrote it.
Kasdan wrote
right?
5 and 6. Kasdan did not write.
So to update
4.
you on what
He
we're
wrote.
talking about,
They wrote Last Jedi though, right? Didn't they help write it?
No, he wrote Force Awakens. Ryan Johnson wrote Last Jedi alone.
Did he?
Yes.
I could have
Yeah,
sworn.
literally
Yes,
did
it's
not-
just Ryan Johnson.
so my thing was,
I don't believe. No,
what-
No,
what-
no, you I will not take that as an insult. You may
No, I'm
fact
just
check.
because I could have sworn I saw
You
there was
may-
something.
you may
Maybe
fact
you
check
know what
my
I'm thinking
facts.
of? I think Solo had Kasdan and his son on it. Actually,
That might be true.
Okay, well, Solo
That
had
might
a
be
couple
true.
things.
So,
going
so
on
my
now,
thing
I
was
thought.
like what the timeline would have looked like if Disney didn't get involved, and I was like, wait, so like who, like, yeah, did George Lucas just get all that money? Like,
Well, you know,
who-
executive
Yeah,
producers, he-
Lucasfilm, like so.
it
Lucasfilm.
was that was Solo.
So
Lawrence
Lu-
Kasdan.
Lucasfilm was. I mean, here's what's cool about Star Wars, especially the original trilogy, and then branching off. Lucasfilm, THX, ILM, like all of these things, which eventually helped with Disney and Pixar spun off of ILM, I believe. Or like George Lucas was in the early stages of Pixar before he handed it off. Like so much has come out of these movies. It's like
I mean, the
it's
technological advances.
It's incalculable
Oh, yeah.
to
It's insane.
imagine what that first Star Wars movie, despite if it's called Star Wars or not, has built. Indiana Jones is a Lucasfilm movie,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
George Lucas produced. Like, there's so much that came out of this, and it's such an important cultural icon.
Right.
But the property itself is such
been muddled.
It's such a
It's a-
mess. It's like-
there's no more toxic fan base than Star Wars. Like I
No,
said,
no.
like, I like going on Facebook though and being in the groups and reading the comments of people going back and forth and how passionate the fans
no,
really
and
are.
that
though.
does show you like
And it's
people love it.
But
Yeah, they
I've
do.
been Luke Skywalker myself, where I've turned myself off to the franchise, and I went, I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah, like,
and then I come back a couple years later.
I'm like, I got
I'm all in.
headcanon, and then like I'll go with the headcanon. And that's the thing about Star Wars that is cool. There is so much
my
that you really can't.
My headcanon personally is Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, and then the original trilogy. Is my personal headcanon. Everything else is kind of supplemental,
Yeah.
and like it's interesting to
And even the
explore this
EU, like a
idea.
lot of people were upset when they were like, they're getting rid of the entire EU. I'm like,
Well,
no, that's a
some of
good.
it sucks.
The EU,
A lot of it sucks.
I would say for every
Let's be real.
for every like 3 bad things, you get one.
You get
good
one
thing
really good thing.
yes.
You do.
That's
And,
Star
like,
Wars in general.
And the
that's,
EU,
that's
it
the
was.
whole.
We were talking how Disney's like not consistent. The EU is everywhere.
It's
literally
all over.
all
Yeah.
over the place. So when
It's
I,
insane.
for me, my headcanon, like my main one was the new Jedi Order series, which is still all over the place because it was written by like 10 authors or something, but it's 17 books and it's a big story and
big arc.
It has so much and like. Yeah, ridiculous things happen, but I love that for Star Wars.
no, I
Everything that happens in that, I'm like, yes, give me more, give me more, give me more. So, like, you know, you always have those things. So, no matter what Disney does at the end of the day, you know, like, there's so much, and it, like,
that you can go
You can
back
always
to.
go back.
With-
Like Empire Strikes Back is probably my favorite movie of all time.
All the Star
other
Wars?
than of all Star Wars, and then it's like in my top 3 of all
I know
time.
that
Sure.
was technically
But,
the
like,
best, but Revenge of the
Return of the Jedi?
Return of the Jedi is my favorite.
So there's 2 types of people that I cannot stand, and if any of you are those people, I apologize, including everyone out there. People who shit on Return of the Jedi and people who shit on Temple of Doom.
Okay.
All right, well, I should leave. No.
I discovered
I
the Temple of Doom part
cannot
last week.
stand when people shit on those 2 movies because I love both of them, and I will make legitimate arguments as to why both of those movies are actually outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Return of the Jedi is one of the best openings ever. I
Yes.
love the
Thank
Jabba's
you.
palace thing.
So
Him
good.
coming
so
in there,
nice
like
to be within people who agree
yes,
with
it's
that.
so good.
Return
Now
of
we're
the
going to talk
Jedi.
about
Yes.
Temple of Doom.
All right, now on to our Indiana Jones themed podcast. Is Disney
man.
ruining Indiana Jones?
Yes. Moving on.
Yes, that is
This is
concurred.
side talk, but are they doing anything with Indiana Jones?
Supposedly there's a
They
fifth
own
one
it
coming out.
And it's
that-
going to have
There
Harrison
is a
Ford.
fifth
But is
It
it
is.
going to continue
Oh
after?
my God.
King of Guns.
So is that going to be canon?
I like
Stop.
Shia LaBeouf in King.
I don't find.
I will
It's funny,
stand
I've
by
never
it.
been like
I
a-
like Shia LaBeouf in that movie.
Okay.
And I haven't seen it within maybe 10 years.
No, it's funny because
But
like
I
I
like-
watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and I'm like, yeah, it's whatever. But then like talking to people who like that, like really enjoy that series, I'm like, oh, I get why it's shit. Okay,
Yes,
like,
yes.
like,
No,
I really-
I stand by Shia LaBeouf. I like Shia LaBeouf as an
Return of the
actor.
Jedi gets a lot of flack.
It does.
But when because people are like, I don't like the middle.
the
Han Solo
Ewoks.
doesn't have a lot to do. I don't mind the Ewoks.
Yeah,
I get why
whatever.
people don't like them. But the
They were
stuff with Luke in that movie and the
So good.
Emperor
Yes.
and Vader is so unbelievably
then
strong.
you will die.
Yeah.
and Ian McDermott.
He is
Ian McDermott.
that one of the best parts of Rise of Skywalker as well. He
And
doesn't get a lot.
And the best
to,
part
yeah.
of Revenge of the Sith and the best part of Return of the Jedi. Like, Ian McDermott is
He's so good.
fucking good.
Did you ever see the old version of like the Emperor?
Oh,
in,
yeah,
like,
with the gorilla
the-
eyes.
Oh,
Apparently,
yeah,
it's like
Weird.
a woman.
It's a
in, like,
woman
old
with
makeup
gorilla
with
eyes.
gorilla eyes imposed
voiced
over her
by
head.
Clive Revel, who
Yeah.
was going to voice him in Return of the Jedi. But then they heard the voice that Ian McDermott was doing on set,
And they were like,
"No,
"No,
we
it's
have
him."
to go with that voice."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they went.
It's
that was one of
weird.
the
I
special
saw it
edition changes
recently
that
and I was like,
cool.
holy
No,
shit.
it's.
Yeah, I like
it's
how they
funny.
have all that on Disney
There
Plus.
are
They have a lot
certain
of,
little
like,
things that he did update in
behind
that
the
where I'm like,
scenes.
okay, that's cool. I
Well,
think
that
that
was
works.
one of them.
That's one of them. But
Coloring in the lightsabers was another.
where they look a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's some little technical stuff. But then when he starts throwing like, all right, we're gonna show a
Jedi
shot of
rocks.
Tatooine. And the Jedi rocks, and there's just 1,000 monsters walking into this frame.
Oh yeah,
Like-
Mos Eisley. They literally
Like-
in Mos Eisley put a giant monster in
Of some
front
kind.
of the camera.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck?
What
are
about
you
that
doing?
Jabba the Hutt scene?
Oh, that's a nightmare. That's
It's insane.
That's a nightmare.
So
Well,
they-
like, okay, go ahead.
Do you know about that? So there was originally
No.
supposed to be a scene with Jabba the Hutt.
but he
in-
wasn't a slug monster.
He was like this weird big man.
He's like,
And-
Okay.
Han. He's
so
like a big fat guy.
and they were gonna do. Were they gonna do like CGI and stuff over him too, or
They
something
were
like
gonna
that?
put a puppet over him and
Yeah.
then like superimpose a stop motion, but it didn't work, so they cut out of the movie. So for the special edition, they went over that scene with the big fat actor with a
Jabba.
CGI Jabba, which looks nothing
Just
like
so
a
out of
puppet.
place.
in-
And
yeah,
he's
I
like
know,
walking,
in the
slugging
newer version
around.
of it.
He's like, "Well, the Han Solo."
But there's one moment where Harrison Ford walked behind the actor, so they have him step on Jabba the Hutt's tail,
And he, like,
if
steps up-
if you watch it, it's literally just like
He
Harrison
chops
Ford goes
over a bit. Yeah, it's insane.
It's like the Hot Shot first scene in New Hope where like Harrison Ford just literally like CGI jerks his head to the side. But this is why when I say like Star Wars has been
McClunky.
broken since 1997.
George just
Yeah.
it's
This
something
is-
weird with him. He just wanted to go back and just tune everything.
You know, it's in the contract when he sold to Disney. The reason we're not getting the theatrical cut of the original
Yeah.
trilogy is because he wrote in the contract.
Yeah, he's like,
you
"No, don't
cannot
do it."
Release that.
Yeah.
We will never
No,
get
I
an
knew-
official
I
version.
knew
And I
about
swear to
that.
God, he put
We
in that
will
McClunky
never.
thing just to be like, "Fuck you guys!
Yeah.
Like, this is another thing. Have fun."
And the Darth Vader no scream at the end of the Return of the Jedi. I'm like, whatever.
Wait, is it?
Whatever.
There's an added like
Yeah,
what,
on
at
the
what
Blu-ray
part?
on the Blu-ray version before he throws the Emperor down the
he's
pit,
like,
he
"No."
goes, "No,
Oh, I do remember.
no."
Yeah, he
And
does.
throws
Oh
him-
my god.
I'm like, whatever.
Whatever, man. Like, whatever.
Sure, why not?
So-
Whatever.
Wow, that's so.
I
Yeah.
think the question of
Yeah.
is Disney ruining Star Wars is like yes and no.
Yes
It's
and
a
no.
very,
Yeah,
very
like
yes.
they're-
And
It's
no.
It
been
also
like that
depends-
for a while.
It also depends on who you ask.
And
You know
but
what I mean?
I think if we didn't, I think Mandalorian is. Oh, was that you breathing?
I'm sorry. I keep doing. I've been fucking.
Oh, I
No,
thought
no,
you
no,
just
no.
like-
I just
I
heard.
realized
I heard a
that.
deep.
I heard a
Maybe
deep
I'm too
breath,
close.
No, you moved your phone on the table.
Oh,
It made
maybe
noise.
that was it.
Oh,
What
wow.
the fuck
I'm sorry.
was
I just
that?
realized I've been clicking
I
my
thought-
pop socket. I didn't
I
really
thought
think
you
about
just
that.
like heavy breathed into the microphone.
Sorry.
Star Wars. Star Wars.
I love it so much.
I really just think. Yeah, I feel like now that you guys have pointed it out, Star Wars has been fucked up for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, not
It's
that
been
I
fucked up
not
for
that
a
I didn't
long,
realize it, but I
long
think I just
time.
needed somebody to point
lay it out.
to point it out. Like it's kind of like asking the same question, like where would Marvel be without Disney? I'm like, that's a great question. I think Marvel would have been fine, but yeah, when you went out to the bathroom, Trio was like, Yeah, some company would have gotten Star Wars, and that's 100%.
A billion-dollar
Yeah,
company of some
absolutely.
kind. Sony.
Yeah.
I mean, nice
Oh
20th
God
Century
forbid Sony got it.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
no.
what and even
no.
like, dude, did you read some of the like original script treatments for like that George gave them? Like they leaked
They're
online.
weird.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
weird.
they
So
are
weird.
They're
He like
weird.
gets into more of like the wills and
Yeah.
and the men and the it's all midichlorian stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm glad we didn't get
George
that. Like,
fundamentally never understood his own creation.
Well, it was weird,
and,
because-
I don't know why that is.
it's funny. I saw this. It
Probably
was-
because he's so wrapped up in it.
Well, there was a
Yeah.
documentary talking about how he was much more faith-based in the 80s and stuff like that, and that shows through with like the forces. Like
Okay.
it moves around us and binds
yeah,
us.
it's
and-
very
is it the People
reli-
versus
it's-
George Lucas. Have you ever seen that?
No, I don't
That's
think
a
I
really
have.
good.
Star Wars is
documentary.
very religious in the original.
Yeah,
But then,
absolutely.
and then he
Very.
gets, and he apparently got more scientific throughout
studied that
the
in college.
the early 2000s, and that's
Yeah.
where the midichlorians came from. It was more scientific, like, oh, you have this thing in you
Yeah.
that allows you to control the force. It's not like it's just around us and it
I
surrounds us and binds
never
us.
hated that, honestly.
The
Like,
midichlorians?
I kind of like it. Just like to me, like it was like all right,
Again,
whatever. Only
not
some
something
people
as
have.
a child when I was watching it, I didn't even think about.
Well, so
Like,
watching
I-
Star Wars Episode 1, watching it as an adult, I was like, I liked this as a kid. I didn't understand anything that was going on in that movie when I was a child.
Yeah.
Because it's all taxation of trade routes in the Senate and
Yes,
vote,
that
vote
was-
of
It's
no
all
confidence
weird
for General
governmental
Zod and all
stuff.
sorts of weird
Like,
shit.
he's like,
even,
isn't
like-
that illegal?
Yeah,
well,
like-
do it anyway.
Like there are things like that I feel like
The blockade.
within- Oh, it's so. Here
comes the
how many-
blockade.
How many more trade blockades are we putting in before the next Senate meeting? No one cares, Palpatine. Anyways,
Nobody cares.
nobody
This is
cares.
getting out of hand. Now they want
like
two
a
of them.
senator just leans in.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Oh, that guy.
Getting
General
back to
Vice,
like
Viceroy,
Newt
Viceroy.
Gunray.
Viceroy Gunner.
Viceroy
Newt
Newt
The
Gunray.
most overtly Asian stereotype.
Oh,
Oh,
can we
my
get it?
God. It's
real
so
quick,
bad.
Real quick.
Like, it
Can we get
really
into
is.
the fact that Star Wars Episode 1 is horribly racist?
Oh, it's so bad.
like, it,
No,
like,
it's
I don't,
funny.
I don't,
I was rewatching it this time. I'm like, ooh.
yeah, like, with, like Jar Jar Binks and Newt Gunray, you're like, ooh.
Sure. But I'd be really curious to actually ask George. She was like, no,
Watto.
that's just the way they are. What do you mean? Like, if he was truly...
else has a hyperdrive reactor.
Yeah.
I tell you that.
I am not giving it to... He's got the stubble and everything. Like, he's dirt. Like, but
They own slaves.
one other thing that annoys me with
Bad.
the prequel trilogy
Everything.
is it ruins... Yeah, there's a lot... Even with, like, Palpatine and Yoda... Yoda and
I just ruined Anthony's childhood.
now you're just gonna go back and watch this and be like, oh, fuck, they're right.
Wow, they are racist.
Shit.
With like Palpatine and Yoda, especially like Palpatine, to me, at least in that original trilogy, he never
Never
needed
needed
to,
a lightsaber.
Never
Yes,
needed
I
it.
agree. They
No.
did
He
not need
never
that in
need,
there.
and that's
Same thing
almost
with
why
Yoda.
like
He doesn't
same thing
ever
with
have
Yoda.
one, right?
Palpatine?
No,
him and Yoda
not in the
Episode
original.
3.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was
Oh,
gonna
no,
say
the
episode
original.
3.
Yeah.
Him and him, you and Yoda
He apparently
fight.
has two.
But
Oh,
then
yeah,
again,
in the
I
cartoon.
do
Yeah.
kind of like the scene of Yoda fighting Count Dooku though, because that was
No,
like,
I thought that's cool.
it was
a lot
not.
of
It was
flippy-
not. I'm not saying it was well done. I'm saying I like the fact that Yoda was his old master, and Yoda's known as one of the best
Swords
lightsaber
and
combat.
It just didn't need a lightsaber.
Like no,
is my
dude, I think it's fine, but
It
he
could've been a
takes it
force
out
battle.
very sparingly. Like,
Yeah,
Yes,
but even
he's
like
jumping
with,
around.
I mean, he does kill a few stormtroopers.
getting
with it.
back to
Yeah.
my Emperor point,
Like on,
he's so
Kashyyyk.
powerful.
They
He
don't
doesn't
need
need to
lightsaber.
use that
Yeah.
force. He and even that's. And I hate to keep coming back to it. Last Jedi, the thing that I really loved with Luke was that he didn't use the lightsaber. He used his knowledge of the Force to
I like
distract
that.
the.
I
Like
like
he,
that. I can
it was a
give him
very
that
much
too.
a
I like
passive
that.
use of the Force instead of this almost grandmaster style Force use that we've never seen. But it is canon. Force projection is a big thing, and I like the. Not the solidarity, but like the stoicness of that. Like when he's like, I will not be the last Jedi, and then he fades away.
So
and I'm
here's the $1 million question then. What's better and what's worse, the sequels or the prequels?
Sequels are way worse. to me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
really.
I think the prequels, because
I
of
could say
the
that,
world
yeah.
that they built,
Yeah.
and even though they're bad,
based on world. Oh,
no,
fuck
based
yeah.
on
Even
based on
even the
everything.
plot, like as well as it, even
Everything.
though it's a little bit weird, it's still kind of consistent.
It's a
at
good story
least.
done well.
Yes, and like
I don't want to say the prequels, but I think you guys are right.
Yeah,
I think you guys are
as an
really
overall-
right.
as a whole, if you think
I don't know,
about-
but even as a whole, they're so it's a lot, and I get they're kind of almost. I think slightly for me, the prequels get it, and not the prequels. I'm sorry, the sequels. Just in the fact of I had a lot more fun while I was watching them, at least for the most part. But while I was
did
more
watching
fun in
those.
the world of the
Yes,
prequels.
but like
The-
also
the
like
Right.
when you
That's
look at
what I like
when
about
you look
the
at
prequels.
1, 2,
I like
3,
that
though, you
world.
can be like, all right, the story's kind of all together. When you look at 7, 8, 9,
But
it's
again,
just
it
like,
comes.
there's no.
I guess it's the same
good
thing
point.
in the
as
sequels.
standalone movies, I think that maybe the sequels are better off just all three of them
As
by
movies,
themselves
they're
as
better.
their own movies, like
As Star Wars
as
movies,
Star Wars,
the
but
prequels are better.
as a trilogy as a whole, I think that the prequels is better than.
But
the
it all,
sequels.
but it all only comes. I guess it happens in the sequels too. It all only comes back in that last movie.
Yeah,
like
pretty
it's
much.
just all talk. Anakin's whining the whole time.
But
he needs to save his
They're
wife.
animals, so I
With
slaughter
the
them like
sequels,
animals.
though, they took a left turn though in the second one,
And
then
again, I think
if
the
they
major.
stuck with it, all
Maybe
right,
it
fine,
could have been-
it could have
yeah.
been good, but they did not. They took a left turn. Was
I
like, no,
will
we're
give it
going
to
back.
you
We're going
on
back.
consistency. I
Yeah.
actually can agree with that.
That
I
is
think.
such a fucking great point.
Yeah.
I didn't like they're like it's funny because like I've been letting you guys talk a lot. You guys are much more bigger Star Wars fans than I, and it's very clear about just like how quiet I've been.
And it's like, I have nothing to say.
That's weird for Gooch.
Yeah, it is really weird for me because I usually have a lot to say about a lot of things. But like Star Wars, I like Star Wars, but I will be the first to admit I'm no giant Star Wars fan. Like I like it, I know the lore and I know stuff, but like as to like what you guys are talking about, like you're just trumping me out of the water and like pointing out a lot of stuff that like I never even noticed.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
And listen, I guess. Really, like you said before, this has showed us just how vastly inconsistent this whole
It is. I didn't think
So
of that
it's-
really either, though.
I
but it
think
is.
I think as a this is where I start to like really rack my brain. Is Star Wars a good property?
No.
I'd say, yeah, it's a good property, but not used in the correct way, which is the sucky thing.
Yeah, I
Means
think that
which
it
which
was,
essentially means no.
I think
No,
that when
I
it
don't think so.
started and like what it did and what like how new it was and how just its own thing it was great. And then I think it went to George Lucas' head a little bit and
Yeah.
like just
And
he
then now it got to
shit
the
the
new
bed,
media.
and then now it's just like it's those member berries that everyone
Yeah.
wants, and
Yeah.
like it's just they're just overdoing it. And I think if they slow down like their plan is, give us the Mandalorian, give us a Kenobi. I'm excited for Kenobi. Like at first I was like, do I need that? Yeah, you
It
know
is
what?
funny to me.
It's-
That's the one thing that I think it's because he was such a beloved. He was
Yeah.
one of the.
Oh, he's great.
peaks.
Ewan McGregor's
From-
great.
He was
from
Ian
amazing.
McDermott
From
is
the
great.
prequels.
Hayden in the third one is great.
Yeah.
Like for me, Star Wars.
Mace was the best. Samuel L. Jackson.
I love Samuel
I
Jackson,
love that.
and I don't like Mace Windu because I just feel like he had nothing to do.
Yeah,
with
he
the
is.
movie.
He is a very much
Again, the
just
Jedi
there
Council
character.
in those whole movies are like, we shouldn't do
Senate will
this.
decide.
Yeah,
But
was,
we're gonna do it for sure.
Yeah, no, he's like, 100%. We're gonna do that. We're gonna deliberate about it, but we're totally.
Hey,
not doing
Yoda,
it.
you know, like he could
about the
really
droid
fuck
attack
up
on the Wookiees?
Oh, that's a good point. We should go over there. So I, as a property, I think Star Wars is fundamentally broken.
Yeah.
I think is what it did to culture and what it continues to do to the culture, and what it continues to do to film and video games. I think is very important and it can't
Right.
be overlooked.
Right.
But I think as a property, I'm talking like take 40,000 steps back. Look at every movie, every video game, every book, everything. Is this a good property? Not really.
definitely
Yeah,
not.
It's not really. a good
That's
property.
exactly where I was at the standpoint of.
It's the same thing with Star Trek, which I'm a huge
should get Kyle- Kyle.
I would like to do a Star Trek a ret.
That is
But,
something I
like,
really can't talk
Here's
to.
the thing, like when you back up from it after a while, you're like, oh, this is a fucking mess. like
There's so many different
Yeah.
series in that too. And
but
stuff
that's how
like that.
Star
yeah.
Wars
Right.
is. There's
And, yeah.
so much to it.
In a way,
back
and
up and look at it. You're like,
I think
this sucks.
It's
I
not
think where
it's
I'm
not
at with-
movies. It's a lot of books and comics
Yeah.
that really have expanded the universe.
Yeah,
that
the thing that sucks for me is like, you see it at those peaks, and you see when it can be treated,
Empire
and when it's
Strikes
treated
Back,
very
Return of the
well.
Jedi, you're
and
like,
it's,
oh my God.
there is a good property here that we can really.
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
But I think that's also like we could have gotten some super shitty Marvel movies
Well,
if decisions
and
weren't
I've
made
been
right.
meaning to go back to
And,
Marvel
like,
about
I
it.
think-
They haven't though. They've been
Marvel
pretty
has
good.
been
But that's the
so.
thing.
I
But
mean,
imagine-
give or take a few things. Very consistent.
Imagine 3 missteps or 2 missteps from them 10 years back.
But
they
Marvel
would've
is
screwed everything up.
consistently a B+.
No, it's true.
Right? So Star
You-
Wars
you
on
know
the
what?
other
fuck
rather
that.
a B plus than an A, C, D.
Yeah,
E,
but that's
F,
but that's
like,
Star Wars.
it's-
Star Wars is like A+, D-.
You got these high you got these high peaks and there's low valleys.
plus,
Yes,
and
yeah,
then like,
like
yeah,
C,
no,
like
you're
Mandalorian,
right.
A+, Rise of Skywalker,
and maybe
C-.
that's
And
And it's really funny that the critic and the fan reviews for Star Wars never line up.
No, and that
They're
there's a
so-
reason.
It's funny,
They're
and it's
so
funny
far
because
away.
I feel like Force Awakens was pretty level, right?
Everyone
Yes.
I
loved
think
it.
if I remember
everyone
correctly,
enjoyed
In
Force Awakens.
retrospect,
Other than
Force
pointing it out, it was
Awakens
New Hope.
is worse now because it
Right.
put these plot points in that got
just go
cut.
nowhere.
And you're like, and it feels a lot like, and everyone points out it's a remake of New Hope.
Yeah,
I
which,
get that.
which is fun. That
Yeah,
was a
it's
safe
fine.
way to
It's
introduce
fine.
the new
Yeah.
characters.
But
and
It's
that
just
was fun.
I thought it was a good way to get new people into the franchise
Right.
while getting people excited
Yeah,
for what's
right.
to come.
Yeah.
But then we got
Two-
what
For
we
better
got.
or for worse,
Yeah.
you get
Okay.
The Last Jedi.
You either had to go the way of the Last Jedi or the way of the Rise of Skywalker.
And
Either way, I think it would have been better. It would have been
Ma-
good.
and
It would have been fun.
Maybe
but-
going back to that where you were saying consistently Marvel's B pluses, maybe that is why people don't realize that those movies are B pluses because they're all consistent.
Yeah. There's 20 of them and they're all decent. Okay,
But
whatever.
every
I'm not
Marvel
gonna
movie,
complain.
I leave feeling the same way. I'm like, that was good.
And like
Yeah.
even you look back at like
Especially
Dark
most
World.
of the solo ventures that
Yeah.
we get. It's
I-
like
Thor:
Cap-
The Dark World is trash.
Yeah,
Utter
yeah.
trash. But like we don't think of it as like that because I feel like that opinion didn't solidify until after the movie
But
came out.
I love Doctor Strange, and I went, that was good.
see, that was actually
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every
Okay,
movie.
I will actually. I enjoyed that. I think a little bit more, but I agree. Like I wasn't like
Yeah.
I wasn't. This is
I'm not
mind blowing
What a,
to
what
me.
like I left Joker going, what a film.
Yes.
See, and it's funny.
I
Even
agree.
that one, I was like,
I left
I
Batman v Superman saying, "What a film!"
I thoroughly enjoyed Joker.
I just had to say
I
that.
love
But I walked
Joker.
out of
I
Joker
love
just
Joker.
being like, that was great. I'm not mind bent.
Right.
I was
Like,
mind
and
bent.
that's
Right.
not
I was,
like-
I was
I was
mind
mind
blown
bent.
And
by
when I
Joker.
came into work and I was talking to you about that, and I even said Joaquin Phoenix could win the Oscar.
Not after
but
I
the
saw
mo-
Willem Dafoe in Lighthouse.
and the
Willem Dafoe
movie,
in
I wanna
but,
see that
but
really
the,
bad.
the movie
Really?
All right.
will
Yeah.
not win the Oscar,
No.
and it didn't, and
No,
that's
Dafoe
exactly
should
the
win
way it
Best
happened.
Actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with the Golden Globe at least, you know,
Yeah.
Joaquin won it, and he's probably gonna win the Oscar. And from 1917, I saw it last night. Fucking great film. It deserved
Oh my
that
God, I wanna
Golden
see
Globe
that.
For sure.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, it's fantastic, and
All
it
right.
will probably win the Oscar.
So to end this, I guess, or to put a pin on it,
Yeah, I've been trying to mean
Put
to
it
get.
well-
I've been meaning to get there.
do you guys want more, or do you
We're
feel
gonna
like
get-
it's not even based on if we're gonna get it or not? Will you see more Star Wars, or will you play more Star Wars? Or
Yes.
I will
and will it be
always.
beg-
I think
will
I'll-
it be a begrudging yes?
Yes.
Or will it just be
not-
a,
no.
if they give me
It's not a
anything that has
begrudging yes.
anything to do with Rey, Finn, or Poe ever again, I'm not going to go see it. But
We're getting a follow-up
if-
trilogy in 10 years, 1,000%.
I know.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
But if they're gonna go and they're gonna do things like Mandalorian, Kenobi, or give us Knights of the Republic, stuff like that, where like you're not messing into stuff we already know. You can give us whatever you want. You're not gonna piss people off. You can give us a story. Then of course I'm always gonna go with it.
And
Yeah.
at this point,
It's
like
fun.
nothing can take away that joy that I felt for those first three films.
Oh, yeah.
And like I will
Never in a million years will I find anything.
and
that
I
gives
guess
me
that's
that
why I'm
Never.
I'm just less hard, especially with the Ryan Johnson stuff. I'm like, listen, it's not your bag, and I get people getting very riled up about it, and there, like I said, legitimate criticisms there. But I'm just like, man, it's Star. It still feels like Star Wars to me, I guess, and I don't know.
Coming into this conversation, when you first asked me to do it, my opinion was going to be Disney ruined Star Wars, and I'm done. And I was going to be really angry, and I was going to slam my fist.
I mean,
and
that's
make
how
a
I
lot-
want it to be too.
And I wanted to be
I'm
like,
right there
I'm
with you.
done. Fuck Rise of Skywalker. I hate Disney. This sucks. It's dead. I want to move on with my life. And then I'm so glad you convinced me to watch The Mandalorian, because if it was just Rise of Skywalker, I'm out. I'm done. I saw what I needed to see. I don't think it's the worst thing I ever saw in my life. I think it's a fundamentally broken film. I think the same thing about Last Jedi. I'm like, I don't want to do it. As soon as I watched Mandalorian, I lit up with.
There was a light.
Oh
Yeah.
my God! Like, all right, I'm back in. I'm back, baby. Here I am. Like,
And I'm gonna kind of like echo the same thing, and I really think it's like those movies that aren't good. They
Yeah.
aren't good Star Wars.
They're trying
but,
to
like
put one of
everything
my
else.
favorite-
The games, the TV show
Yeah.
we have are good, and
oh, I
that's
hope
where
they don't run that into the ground.
I mean,
that's
I
another
think if they
thing.
I
keep
think
it,
next season's gonna be
I
phenomenal.
think if they keep who they have in charge, which I don't see why they would get rid of them,
It's
like
Dave
it's been
Filoni
doing
and
so
Jon
well,
Favreau. Let them
that
do what
I
they
think
need to
they'll
do.
be fine.
'Cause
I
this
really
is
do.
This
I
is a
think.
crazy point to think, but like the season wasn't that good in terms
No, it's
of
not.
what happened. It's all filler.
So-
100%.
Love it. That's why I like it.
But that's why it's so
knew
good.
exactly what it wanted to tell, and it did it in
And
that
then
right
the
time.
ending set everything up for like, okay, you can go a million ways.
It's
and
a
I want to
great
see
primer.
every
Dude,
one of them.
the last episode.
Yes.
Ask him, because I was like week to week. I feel like I was coming to Evan.
I saw it
saying,
all in one chunk.
And
Almost
I
like
literally
over
and I
2 days.
literally said the ending will make it. Episode
Yes.
to episode, not good. As a whole, great.
But I like the
Incredible.
fact
I was
that
gonna
it's
say, I really-
episodic.
yeah,
I
I
like
do.
that it's like
No.
he shows up on a planet. He's
But
Clint
like
Eastwood.
Baby Yoda
He's
is
gotta
he's
save
Clint
the
Eastwood.
town.
Done.
Boom, boom, boom. We
But-
saved the town. Moving on.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's fine, but Baby Yoda introduces this big
Yes.
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 It connects
that I
everything.
think Baby Yoda is not involved in any of that stuff. So why is he there? Not.
I mean, he's
why is he
protecting
there?
him.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm not asking that question.
Yeah.
It's more like a rhetorical.
But it's cool
thing.
that it's both like it's a lot of lore building. You got the dark saber, you've got Baby Yoda, you've got all these ideas, right? But at the same time, it's a little heist episode where
right,
Yeah,
Mr.
and-
Krabs and the guy from Game of Thrones go on a
So
little adventure.
Bill Burr's
And I'm
there,
Bill
like,
Burr.
that
Like,
is
yeah.
that is cool.
Yeah,
but like
it's a little
but-
space adventure.
But
Like,
what kind of is in the
nice.
back of my
I'm
head
in.
is what's gonna fucking happen to Baby Yoda? Where's
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
big?
Which is why I
there's
like
this
this
big
show.
thread. Where is
that's
it?
the
When's
thing.
it gonna happen?
But I think they do tie it up in the nice way, like you will be as a father to
Yeah.
him. Like
Yeah,
you will,
he's
like there's
sticking around.
Yeah.
I
and
mean,
I like
I
the
don't think it's a
Mandalorian
tie up.
building
I
it.
think it's just like really getting to what the series
I
is.
see it.
We
Yeah.
finally
And
got a Boba Fett movie. That's what Mandalorian
Yeah,
And you know what I
is.
loved
Like,
hearing John Favreau talk about? He's like, we were thinking about doing the Boba Fett stuff, but we're like, when you get a character that's already established, you have all this baggage with him. And he's like, no, we're just
Yeah.
making a new one. We're
Yeah.
gonna make a
He made a
totally
new
new
Boba Fett.
character.
And he did a great job with
Yeah,
it too.
I
like-
love how nobody sees his face. I'm like, I never want anyone to see his
I,
face.
Yeah.
I didn't like that they showed his
No,
face.
I
There was
do
I
like
like
that.
how they showed it.
They did a
His
perfect
face.
way to show us because we
I
need
was
to
gonna
see
say.
his face as as the viewers. You have to be able to see what is going on.
Who's under
He
there?
acted the shit.
Because the last time
out
I
of
saw that
mask.
face,
Yeah, he did.
after
He
I
is-
was,
got
his
oh
face
my god,
crushed.
So
he got his
I don't
face
want-
shot in by the
Oh,
mouth.
amazing.
You raped her.
I
You
don't wanna
murdered
ruin
her,
it for you too
killed
much.
her children.
But a lot of that isn't him in the show, apparently.
It's
really?
never him.
There's mostly
it's
not
never
him.
him.
No,
Yeah.
Really? It's
no,
not
I think
Pedro
he's-
Pascal?
He is there a few times, but
So
for the
all-
most part,
yeah.
it's,
So
it's,
all of
it's
his
an act-
lines are ADR?
most for the most part, yeah.
pretty
Wait
much.
a second. Wait a second.
Pretty much. He's
What?
working on another project right
Yeah,
now.
it was
I mean, I
scheduled-
guess that makes
Yeah.
sense.
He was talking in an interview. He's like, I'm planning on being in the actually in the armor a lot more on second season because
Good.
I'm around. But
I
hey,
was-
I
I'm
think
shocked by that.
I,
Yeah.
because
I
even
really
like
felt
dude,
him
the
for
way
that.
he walks and stuff is like
It's nice, yeah.
like
He
that.
feels like Clint Eastwood. There's
does.
no
He
other way.
does.
It
Even
feels
that
like
one-
And I like that feel, the Western style with Star
Dude,
Wars.
it's so
Is
good.
nice. It does.
One thing I hate about the show, whatever Disney Plus's opening is for that, where they
Oh,
show
the weird Star Wars.
they show
I
like,
don't
yeah,
like it
I'm
either.
like,
oh, skip.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like
But
that.
I
Give me
like
a true
the
Mandalorian.
credits,
Yeah.
them showing the concept art.
So
something
good.
that
That
I
is cool.
really
I
That is
like
like.
that.
nice.
Yeah,
That is
Yeah,
nice.
like
So Mandalorian for me saves Star Wars as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
I'm really
That
like,
actually
yeah.
that makes me happy.
It does.
Yeah.
Is Fallen Order saving it for you at
Oh,
all?
the games are always good. To me,
Yeah, I
like
think the
to me,
games
like,
are
you
different.
can- You
The
can make
comics-
1,000 games.
I
and
like
make
the
a video
comics
about it.
that I've read. I read a little bit of the Darth Vader ones. They were
Darth-
really
I
good.
heard that was great.
The Darth Vader run.
Like
I love it. It's,
I
and
heard
it's
that was
weird because it's
great.
only about him getting his lightsaber.
Yeah.
But like the way they set it up, so
Well,
that-
doesn't he
Like
go
the scene
into
with
the
Padme
realm of
in
the
that-
death
that
and
was-
meet
So
Padme? She
basically,
rejects
they
him.
explain
yeah.
how he gets the red lightsaber and how
Yeah.
they make a red lightsaber, which is interesting. Do you care if I spoil?
No,
anything?
spoil away.
So there's
Please.
one of my favorite issues is he has to make he goes and kills a Jedi to get his crystal.
Okay.
And basically to make a lightsaber red, you have to make it bleed.
Yeah.
And to do that, you
You
focus
make,
in
you
all
make
your
the crystal
Like
bleed.
you
make
take
the
your
crystal
blue
bleed.
crystal and you
make it you
shove
all
dark
your
side
hate,
energy.
so he
Shove
goes-
your darkness
Yeah.
in it.
shove all your darkness.
This is like Kingdom. This is like Kingdom Hearts over here. Like
my God.
half the lines are like that kind of shit. But anyway, go ahead.
So he's doing it, and basically he's trying. He goes back to Mustafar to do it because like there's a hard dark side energy in there, of course. And
Yeah.
he's doing it, and he gets blown back by it, and he has this force vision of him not turning. Or not turning. He goes back to the Emperor and he's like, "Have you completed your task?" And he's like, she's like, "Have you made your choice?" He's like, "I have." And he ignites the green lightsaber, and he kills Palpatine. And then he goes back to
Where'd he get the green
Obi-Wan.
one from?
That's who he stole the green one from. So he went and killed a Jedi without a lightsaber. He took his lightsaber
yeah.
to make it bleed.
Oh,
And
So
then he
this,
basically
the
in this
mission
force
was he
vision,
wasn't allowed to have a lightsaber.
yeah. He goes back to Palpatine. He kills him. He's like, "I made my decision." Then he finds Obi-Wan on Tatooine and is like, "Master." And he takes off his helmet and kneels before him. And he's like,
He's all fucked up. Is he
and
all
he
like,
still looks,
oh, that's
yeah.
awesome.
And he's
Jesus
like, but then it
Christ.
cuts back to him, and he's like, "No." And then he's like, and then he starts forcing all the dark side energy into it, and he makes it bleed. And he's like, "Fuck, dude."
said-
Why can't this be a movie?
And then he sees Padme and he says what he did and she rejects him.
That's
and
what
then
just doesn't make sense. Why don't the movies have this writing and this lore in there?
Yeah, and it's
Because it doesn't make any
powerful.
sense.
Because it's corporate bullshit.
It is.
It really
There
is.
We need to have
Rise of
we need to have
Skywalker is a
this.
great example.
We
of
need
that.
to hit
It's
these
like,
points.
It's so muddled by the behind the
Yes.
scenes.
Yes.
Yep.
It's so muddled.
The Last Jedi was the first movie where I saw through it. I'm like, I see. There's a scene in Last Jedi, and I'm not trying to be political, and I don't mean to be. But
That movie is so
Let's do it.
politically shoved down your
like,
throat. I
But
can't
like,
believe
okay,
it.
Star Wars is the biggest film property of all time. They make untold billions of dollars, and there's a scene where Rose goes, "Ah, money is evil. And I'm like, you know what?
Is that on Canto Bite?
Yeah, she's like, there's only one way that you could get this, and it's being rich and powerful, and having money is bad. I'm like, you're fucking Star Wars. Shut up. You're
Yeah,
not in any
Disney.
position
Again,
to
the
talk.
Rose
You are
stuff.
Star Wars.
That's a Ricky Gervais moment right there.
Yeah, like,
Telling people to
that's,
shut
that's
up.
how I
that
feel
are-
about it. though.
Okay, it's funny,
wanted
I
to
actually-
tell Star Wars to shut its mouth. At that point.
I really liked the idea of showing that there's some gray in the galaxy with the war going
like
on, but
that
it's the
too.
way they went about it that
but
wasn't
Yeah,
good.
like at
She
that point they should have
literally
gave us the Huts
says
again.
it.
Give
Yeah.
us some stuff with like what are the
Give
Huts
it- yeah,
doing?
and
They're
and
gangsters.
it's just so much
They're
like
bad.
they're
Oh, but
playing so
I
many
didn't like how they
audiences.
did that in Solo with fucking Jason with Spader. Might as
I'm
well
trying
be
to
the
even
fucking
think. I
Vision.
saw Solo in the theater and then never watched
The
it.
theater.
again.
I never.
Dude,
saw
fucking
Solo.
is Darth
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 Maul
Vader.
showing
Darth Maul
up.
coming
and
back. I
Darth,
was
That
like,
was one of my
Darth Maul
favorite-
being part of that syndicate. I was like, what the fuck is
Well,
this?
I mean, no, but
That's right.
But again, no, that makes sense. He is part of the
I
crime
know,
syndicate.
I know.
But the part about that gets me is when he's like, "It's me." He doesn't say this. He
me.
might as
Ding,
well.
ding.
Well,
It's
it's
me, Darth Vader. If you don't remember, here's my
Darth
lightsaber.
Maul.
I'm gonna spin it for you, and now I'm here. All right.
Remember the
Yeah.
guy with the fleshy lightsaber?
But it's funny because
But again, he's a
My
guy
legs.
he's dead in canon, so they can't go anywhere
No,
with
he
it.
is not.
No, he's not.
He, is dead
He
in
gets
Canon
killed.
Rebels.
Oh
in
no, no,
Rebels.
no,
And that was
dead.
phenomenal.
Yes, he came
That was
back.
incredible
He came
scene.
So do
back.
you know about
That was
he,
an incredible
he gets
scene.
so he finds
Spoiler
Obi-Wan.
alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert for the comic.
I have seen this.
Or
And
Rebel.
Obi-Wan
Yes,
kills them.
yeah.
It's like
Obi-Wan-
over a little fire too. It's like
Yeah,
a little,
no. So he does
small
the
little
move. So he
scene.
tries the move that another scene I do like. He tries the move he did on Qui-Gon Jinn to him, but he just was like, "Fuck you," and he just slices him. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just this one quick moment.
It's just one-
and then he falls into his arm.
It's
And
such an
it's
anime scene too.
It
They're
is.
both like on opposite sides of
And
each other
they're just
after the
getting
slice,
ready.
and then after like a second,
I
He's
have
like-
seen this.
yeah, yeah. So, but that was great. He's like save him or like keep watch over, protect
And it's
him.
cool. And
chosen
even the
one.
idea with Maul, like he
Yeah.
hates the Sith as much as the Jedi do now,
Which is
because of how-
interesting.
and I would
Yeah,
love to see more of
but
that.
I really gotta watch.
What are they
the
gonna
Clone
do
Wars
with
and Rebels.
Kira or whatever in Solo
Kira?
at the end of that?
Kira?
Yeah. Like,
We're never
I
going to
feel
see
like
that
she was
follow
just
up. I think we were supposed to see
Why
a follow up.
didn't they
Sorry.
give any character to Darth Maul in the movies at all? Why did
I
they
don't
cut
know.
him in half and throw him down a shaft and having two lines?
And then they were like, well, let's bring in this new Sith Lord.
I think
Okay,
it
well,
was-
listen, and then we'll kill him, and then bring in Grievous,
And then-
kill him.
I
Yeah.
like Grievous. Oh, I fucking love Grievous.
I like
man.
Grievous
I like
too.
Grievous is so cool.
but
without the Clone Wars and that
You
kind of
have
extra,
no-
what is Grievous?
Yeah.
Because he's in episode 3. Where he's just a sick guy.
will make a
But honestly,
to
but
my collection.
that is great. I do all the same.
Dude, all the memes that come out of the prequels are so good.
Oh,
Like, they
man.
really
There
are.
is no better franchise. Why is Star Wars a good franchise? The memes.
No,
okay?
it's like
From every
the
single of the
memes.
generations,
The
they have it
memes.
just
It's so
I
and
think,
even
I think
the-
Star Wars is a good franchise. I don't think it's a good property.
property. That's
And, like,
the word.
I
Yeah,
think those are two
really,
totally
I
different
think it's
things.
actually. I guess it depends on how I'm wording
As
those.
a
I think the
franchise-
IP can be great and can
You
be
can do
something
any-
really
you can
cool.
do anything with it. And that's why I think it's a fun franchise because so many writers and directors and everyone's just throwing garbage at it, and it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But as a property, it's so to me until they can really prove they can move beyond the Skywalker saga, which they just named recently.
Which I don't think does that bother you that they named it the
bothers me that-
Skywalker?
It bothers me
Skywalker
that they
saga, it bothers
not
me a
named it
lot.
that too, because in a way, to me, it never
Bothers
really
me a
felt
lot.
like it was so necessary. I don't.
It
They
bothers-
have to
that
go
name
away from it,
bothers
but at the
me.
same time, they can't run from it. And like, I don't want to see
Which
them
is why-
running
which
from
is
it
why
like
I
they
was
do the
pissed they ran
prequels.
from the prequels.
Exactly.
Because like the sequel trilogy had no prequel technology, no mention of the prequels, and it just felt so.
Yeah, and
like,
now it's like, is this? Are they gonna just shove it away? Like now we'll never talk about the Skywalkers again.
yeah,
Like,
we'll never talk about
give
Jedi
it to me
again.
a little
Yeah.
bit. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, that's something I don't like. I always did like the Jedi and the Sith, so
Yeah.
I kind of wish they just
Yeah.
kept that, and that
Again,
was Star Wars.
The prequel stuff, like the world stuff, the lore
idea
stuff
of the
is,
prequel I
is
love.
great.
Yeah.
The ideas
But
of the
the
prequel I love,
it's
but
all
the
about-
execution.
it's all about
is
this
wrong.
execution.
And that's the problem.
Yes.
George Lucas should, because originally he wanted to give Episode 1 to Steven Spielberg, right? And
That would've
he
been
went
great.
to Steven. He's like, I have a treatment. I have an idea. This is what I want to do. And Steven Spielberg was like, listen, you're gonna micromanage the fuck out of me, so just make it yourself.
Do you know how
Yeah.
he would do scenes? So he'd have people. You do the scene like 80 times, and then he'd like someone in one scene.
Spielberg?
No,
Lucas.
He'd like someone in one shot of
Yeah.
the scene, and then he liked someone else in the other shot.
And
of
he
the
cut
scene.
them together?
and
Yeah.
he'd cut them together. He's like, oh, he stood up too fast. Use the other
Yeah.
cut where he didn't stand up fast enough, and
wow.
That's the
superimpose
most
it in.
robotic way. To
Like
make a
literally
movie.
Yeah.
as micromanagey as you can be. And like it's almost the I mean, I guess Disney does it too. Like the corporations do it. Like I don't know which
like
one's
Not
the-
like
this,
that, I
Not
think.
like that.
not like like that's
Yeah,
insane
I
to
mean,
me.
say what you want, put Spider-Man in a CGI suit, but I wouldn't say it's like that kind of egregiousness. that you're describing. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's bad. That's like
Yeah.
that's like just being a nitpicky son
What do you
of
mean?
a bitch.
So, Spider-Man in a CGI suit.
What if he was in a like realistically? If they did,
I mean, he's in a
did-
real suit most of that time.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
Are we talking about the Sam Raimi
Are you
Spider-Mans?
saying
Are we
like
talking
Homecoming
about-
and stuff?
No.
That black suit's real that he's in most of the time, unless he's CGI.
Oh, that black suit.
Oh,
is
the black
definitely-
suit, okay.
I'm not
the
talking about
Iron
the black.
Spider. Yeah, is obviously.
I
gonna
mean,
be
the
CGI.
Iron Spider suit and the, when
Even
he's,
his regular suit might be CGI.
Parts of it is, but for the
it
most part,
definitely-
it's real.
But like, what if they just tried to be more practical about it?
And I think we are getting into that age.
Like,
that
we
companies,
need to do that.
One thing I do think is really good on the sequel trilogy.
God
is the
bless Star
production
Wars
design.
for
Like,
doing
I do
some
think it
some
looks real
practical
most
stuff.
of the time when it
Yeah.
needs to look real.
Doing some
I like
practical
the creature
monsters.
designs.
Yeah.
I like the sets.
I need to. As I saw a video recently because I always thought the Star Wars prequels were completely CGI. Right? I always thought they were
For the
completely,
most part, they are. Yeah.
But there's a couple of moments where they're actual sets.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I don't think
like-
there's
like-
one
like
stormtrooper
Palpatine.
in.
There's no
There's not
clone
one
trooper.
clone
There's
trooper
no
in
clone
Star Wars
trooper.
prequels that is
But
not CGI.
if
That's
you-
insane.
I don't
All the
understand
CGI.
Like,
why.
it's
Everyone.
armor.
Like,
Like,
even Tamara Morrison's face when they did
Yeah,
the
when
helmet is CGI. I'm like, why? But there's
Dude.
a couple moments like the pod racing stuff. So like when they show that wide
Now
shot
this
before
is pod
like,
racing.
No, this is flying.
No, this is-
Totally different. But when they show like the whole pod racing track like before it goes to each pod racer, that's a model.
We did-
like they
Okay,
do a lot
that's
of
cool.
crazy big models, but they get like shined over with CG. So a
it's
lot
all
of it looks
shiny
like
and new and weird, and it doesn't look like it's lived in.
Let's try spinning. That's a cool trick.
There's so many. Like, what?
Qui-Gon said to stay in his cockpit, and that's what I'm gonna do.
All right, so I think we're starting to get into the circle talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Star
But-
Wars, man.
I mean, this has been like honestly, this has been a fucking like great podcast. I'm not sure.
this is fun.
I'm not sure why, but like this conversation has been.
It ended up
absolutely
going really
great.
well.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did it. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
you're
It's been
very
a great
welcome.
time.
Thanks for
Is
having
there
us.
anything
Yeah.
else? Anything else? Are you on a podcast, Evan?
I am on a podcast.
What's the podcast?
It's called Blah Blah Podcast.
All
You
right.
can follow them at Blah Blah Pod 1 on Twitter. I
right.
believe that Anthony will be making a guest appearance at some point
Love
soon.
it.
Yeah.
We do a couple of video reviews where basically we have a format where we've I'd like to use the word ripped off a couple of other formats on the
Sure.
internet where
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
we
you know.
choose like a garbage bottom of the barrel movie. Right? We just watched something called Krampus the Christmas Devil.
Love it.
Which is like just some bottom
Was that
of
the one that just came out last year?
No, this
Or
is
that was
something
Kra-
even
even worse?
That was
Even worse.
Krampus
Like,
or
Yeah, it was
something.
just Krampus, I think.
I'm
Yeah,
talking like bottom of the barrel, like
Like you're scratching
like-
at the bottom of it.
yeah, like really
Metal
really
flakes are
deep.
coming up.
Yeah, and then we'll watch that and we'll get rip roaring drunk and then sit
And just
around and,
fuck her- yeah.
and be like, what did we just see? And try
That
to,
actually
like,
sounds like
describe
a
it.
lot of fun.
So
It
we
does.
do stuff like that. So if you want to check us out, it's called Blah Blah Podcast.
I love it.
You can find us on YouTube as well. So.
And Mike,
Okay.
you have an Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Kung Fu Cosplay?
Kung Fu cosplay, yeah, with the
Give
K.
him a follow. We
That
always
sounds
love
like
that.
fun.
Some guitar videos. I Star Wars. I got a lightsaber. That's pretty cool.
I love
to
it.
do some kung fu stuff.
Dude,
with
I
it,
want to
so-
go.
Sweet.
I want to go to
Some cool
Galaxy's
stuff.
Edge and fucking.
Dude,
forge
I
my
do.
own.
Yeah.
I think my lightsaber is nicer than the ones you guys got.
Yeah, really?
Throwing down the
yeah.
lightsaber.
Oh yeah.
How much did you
Saber
pay-
Forge, I believe.
How
I
much
got
did you
it.
pay for
Oh,
it?
I've
heard
heard
of
It
of
was
those. I've heard
300
of
for my
this.
model. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
I know-
weighted
I know
like a
they're
legit
expensive.
sword though.
What
and
color
stuff,
is
so
it?
like I could change it to any color.
What's your
That's
preferred
sweet.
color?
I'm a Sith, so of course red. However, if I make a video, I want to. I'm
the
really
fuck
looking
outta here with
to
that.
make a video in the snow with a blue one because that would be sweet.
that
That
would
would be
great.
badass.
In this
man.
weather, what is it? 70 degrees right
Yeah,
now.
I was gonna
It's
say, you know,
70
you could do a
degrees.
you could do it.
Yeah.
What is it? Endor
Tatooine.
shoot, maybe.
Do
Yeah,
a
Tatooine.
Tatooine shoot right now.
Fun fact on that: the Return of the Jedi lightsaber was going to be blue, but they changed it last minute to green because it looked weird against the sky on Tatooine.
That's what
Really?
yeah.
yeah. That's why we
Interesting.
see all the posters for Return of the Jedi. It's a blue saber.
And wasn't that Revenge
Wow.
of the Jedi?
It was it was Return, then Revenge, and then Return again.
How many?
Yeah.
And they made posters that
For all
said
three.
Revenge of the.
Yeah, it
And
was
they,
Return
they
of the
actually
Jedi,
they did a
Revenge of the
homage to
Jedi,
it, homage, with one of the new posters for Rise of Skywalker.
Well, the title Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of
is-
Skywalker.
is-
They wrote.
Well, it was Rise of Skywalker, but it was in that style. Like
Also, I
it
hate
was
that
like
title.
Kylo's face over
That's
it.
I'll
and
say
then,
that
like,
again.
with the
I
cross.
I don't
hate
like
it.
Rise of Skywalker.
I don't like all three of the titles of the sequels are not.
I love the title of The Last Jedi.
Well, it's just
For
because
sure.
it goes. The
Oh,
Force
yeah, I
Awakens,
like
like
The
oh,
Last
everything's
Jedi.
great. Oh, never mind. The Last Jedi. Now
And
it's
then the
everything's
Rise
dead,
of-
and then the Rise of
When did
Skywalker. So
Skywalker Rise. Anyway, that's where you can.
I was gonna say we're gonna get back into this.
We'll do
Tune in
the
for part two.
We'll do the outro and then we
I
can
gotta.
just keep
I
talking.
sadly gotta start getting going. But guys, thank you all
Yeah, yeah.
so much for coming
well,
on.
This was a lot of fun.
For anyone that's been watching on Twitch, we appreciate you on there. We are on all the socials. Delco Nerds on everything. You can search Delco Nerd Network on YouTube and Facebook. This podcast is on all your favorite services. Just search Delco Nerd Network. If you could drop us a review, that'll be fantastic. It really helps us out. All this information can be found on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. Thank you, Gooch. Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Mike. I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.